Fuck it. What's going on, YouTube? Metal Dad's here again with my buddy Turbo as always. We got Flynn in the background basing it up. I still got to unmute him. And first thing I'm going to say is happy birthday to my boy Todd here.
Well, thank you.
Todd, one of our favorite guests, is back here again, and one
Hello.
of our most loved guests because he's the one we get the most feedback from. Everybody loved you.
Well,
Just so
I
you
love
know.
everybody else, so that's cool, right?
We love your vibe. We love your energy. Todd's a really
Yeah, I
good
know.
friend. Helped me out with a lot of stuff over the years, and we've worked together on some shit. So now we're here. Turbo brought his favorite guitar, he says. He was just saying before online. You want to tell us a little bit about that guitar before we start getting into what Todd was talking about?
Well, it's a Gypsy Jazz guitar. It's a Selmer McAfee copy. So the Selmer company, people know that from like saxophones and clarinets. They're really expensive saxophones if you buy it. The old ones are worth a fortune. And yeah, so the story goes, there was Gypsy Jazz was this thing coming along in the 40s. And the Selmer company wanted to get in on the action. They said, let's make jazz guitars. And Antonio Macaferi, who was a classical guitar player and mandolin builder at the time, said, I won't do that. That's children's music. I won't do that. Forget it. And they said, fine, we'll just fire you. So he said, okay, I'll think about it. And he went out and went to this jazz club in Paris. I'm pretty sure it was Paris. And saw these guys play and then decided that then and there, okay, I know what you need. You need something loud that'll just project and cut, because you had a stand-up bass and clarinet and guitar and violin and people drinking and smoking and mon ami, bonjour, comment ça va? Paris of the 40s, right? So they wanted something that would cut. So this is what he came up with.
Wow, that is just gorgeous.
Yeah, and this is so very Art Deco. Originally, it had the big, what they call the grand bouche. There's a petite bouche, one with the little circular hole, but they originally had a resonator inside them, and the guys all took them out because they're like, we don't need it. So it's got this kind of semi-arch top and the mustache bridge, they call it, obviously.
Nice.
And what a tone. I don't know if that's picking up on the internet.
I can hear it in the headphones. Gonna get nuclear now. Gonna get nuclear now. Gonna get nuclear. Gonna get nuclear because Russia's going into Ukraine.
Woo, it's cold.
And I did that on
Part of the
purpose.
fingers.
I did that on purpose to lead in the conversation we were having before we got on air about the nuclear pending war that might not happen. But Todd, can you please start over and tell everybody?
Before we even go there, let's go right back to the beginning.
There we go. Here we go.
We got to go right back to the beginning. I'm talking about the beginning, right?
You need to do.
I brought my hang drum tonight, right? So just so even before that beginning. So the first beginning is the first age was the age of darkness, right? That was the first age. The second age was what we call the age of sound and the age of energy. And the sound and the energy of the universe became minerals in the age of the minerals and the elements. And those age of elements became the age of the plants. The plants led to the age of the reptiles, of the dinosaurs and that, which led to the age of the animals, the age of the five senses, which we currently live in. At the beginning of every age, a great spirit would arrive. And when he arrived at the beginning of this age, and at the end of every age he comes, but at the beginning of this age, he showed up. And he gathered everybody together, all of humanity, on one spot on this land that's no longer on land, it's underwater now. And he gathered them all together, and he said, listen, I'm going to send you to the four directions, and as I send you in the four directions, your skins will change color. And he sent the people to the east, and he said their skin would change color to red, and they would get guardianship of the earth. And they would learn all the medicines of the trees and the plants and everything else. And at the end of the age, they will come back together with humanity and share this knowledge. And to the yellow people, he sent south, and he said they'll have reign over the stars and the sun and the moon, and they'll learn everything about the element of air and everything in the sky. At the end of the age, they'll come back. And then he sent to the age. He sent people to the dark people and the black people to the west, and they had guardianship of the water. Water, the most powerful but yet humble of the elements, yes. And then to the white people, he sent them north, and because they went north, he gave them fire, right? So fire consumes, fire destroys, fire burns. You can't judge fire for doing it, right? If you look at everything white people created too, it's from fire, right? The combustion engines, everything else, all the way up to nuclear, where I wanted to go with this.
Yep.
Nuclear
I see
fire.
what you're doing now.
Yeah, right?
You clever,
So,
cheeky bastard.
We took it all the way up to nuclear fire. So this is what it is right now. This is because the creator saw that this age had to come to an end, and it was white people's task to consume the world and destroy it, right? For the civilization to come together. Now there's also there's deeper in the story, because every direction got two stones, right? Those two stones from the red peoples are held at the Hopi reservation in Arizona. The yellow peoples in Tibet. The black people stones is in Kenya, Kilimanjaro, by the Kikuyu tribe, and the white people stones in Switzerland, as far as I know. So all these stones are supposed to come back together. So all this stuff with the nuclear fire and everything else, we can't really judge what's about to happen, but it's brought us to a point, right, for the age to end. And so fire will consume, but there's a certain thing. I've been talking to Spirit a lot, right? So there's a couple things coming here. The evil of the world was actually removed a few years ago. And I know it doesn't seem like that, yeah? It doesn't seem like that, but it's really, it was taken off let's just say the darkest of the evils was taken off. But what's left is a society that was ran by evil. And because of that, because evil's just living backwards, right? Because of that, it has come to this certain point. But it's also the end of the age where things will be consumed now in some type of fire. I know everybody's worried about the nuclear fire, and there's a theory that really what will happen here is we'll come right to the edge of nuclear war, where they might even tell us that they launched something, but they'll stop it there, and it'll get people to that point. That's the real big gut punch that might be coming. But that aside, from what my own talking and what I do in my own guided kind of visions and everything else, is that there is a light coming soon. And within the next few years, there's going to be a solar system that kind of crashes together, and there's going to be a flashing light that goes to the universe. When this light hits the earth, there's going to be affecting people who have been awake, really, and you're going to feel it, and it's going to change something. There's going to be a split. Because if you know anything about Project Looking Glass or anything else there, right, it basically is they would try to arrange timelines to make things work. But after December 21st, 2012, Looking Glass said, no, humanity's consciousness is going to rise up, right? So what happens here is that light will hit, and the people that haven't done the work or anything else, it's hard to say, because I see in photographs, right, when Spirit talks to me, almost like, so it's like I have to kind of translate that. But there'll be a split. There'll be a shadow Earth, and the shadow Earth goes back for another 25,492-year cycle, where they get reincarnated in that energy field, is it whatever that looks like. And I don't know, right? I can't. And yet there's going to be some kind of dimensional switch here, where there might actually, Spirit showed me that the people that go in the shadow Earth will actually, there'll be a rapture. They'll mess the people on this side. So that's been a lot of the downloads I've had. And not to worry about that.
Last part, you said there'd be a bit of a rapture? Or?
Yeah, like a rapture in that sense.
That's kind of like the rapture is.
Yeah.
It's more like a split rather than
there's like a split in time here in a rapture, where people that have been doing the work in that, like, it's going to change somehow. And I can't really see it because I can't understand it. But it's a pretty powerful thing that's coming, right? So what Spirit has told me is, everybody just get into your heart and feel that frequency, right? Because right now we're trying to be manipulated with the frequency of the apocalypse. And if they can channel that, they can. And it's I see it in the earth. When I see the earth, I see awake people like ourselves, and people that are still connected to that creator light within. And there's a good size of us, but then I see another group too, and it's much darker, and they're psychopaths, and they're twice the size of what we are. And then there's the rest of everybody else that's kind of everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what we got to reach out to, kind of thing. But again, with that frequency, it's just riding that out. And then that split, it's hard to concept these things with our minds, right? We were talking outside about the moon, and the new moon just happened.
Yeah.
We have the 13 moons, right? So we use the moon for our internal clock, our pineal gland, and inside our chakras and working inside, and the sun and the solar calendars for the outer eyes and the outer experience and how we schedule and build our world around it, right? So one's for the inner world and one's for the outer world, 2 calendars, same sort of thing, right? So this split that's coming in this force of all this power, it's to be. I mean, Russia was supposed to go in. It's also biblical because the nuclear power plants that they took, that's all the wormwood areas, right? So the Monks have to go get the wormwood and everything else. Yeah, so that's where the wormwood's from, right? So that's also, it fits. Okay. It's just, we're getting the last parts of the story here, right?
Yeah.
And that's simple enough.
Interesting. The wormwoods. What's that all about? I mean, I'm familiar. It's an old European medicine, wormwood.
Well, it is, and it's when they talk about the armies at the end of time, and you get into the Book of Revelations, and the Apocalypse, and Peter's visions and stuff, and the things that they've hidden from us, right? It will start with that area, and it's I believe they're called the Molochs, and will come down to help through defend Israel, right? Because you're going to see Turkey, right? Because you got to remember that Aragon is full Khazarian mafia, right? Like he's like the head of it.
Right.
So they're suspecting Turkey is going to make a move very soon on Israel or in the Middle East on that side, and then you're going to see Russia come down in defense that way. So these are strategic moves that are being played.
Interesting.
And it's all pre-played, all playing out, but it all has to do with has to do with Starlink, right? Ukraine just put up Starlink, and then there's 25% of countries that haven't signed on to Starlink yet. And most of them in the Middle East with UAE and all that kind of stuff.
That haven't signed on.
Yeah. Wow. So these are some of the issues that are going behind the scenes, right? So they're going to, there's levels to this stuff, right? Well, everybody's distracted with what's going on here, and we're all going to get nuked, or we're all going to get this and that. Like, there's a lot of
sleight of hand.
Yeah, it's all sleight of hand. 3-cut Monty, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Can we get just a smidge less space?
Yeah, there we go.
Just a smidge.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's so for the nuclear side, it's really why carry about the heart? You know what I mean? Like the heart in our it's about your frequency. So maintain the frequency and don't worry about it, right? Because the sun came up. That wasn't you, that wasn't me. So that happened. So trust that there's a power here bigger than you that you can connect to, and it's through that heart frequency. And don't let them get us down with the fear, right? Yeah. So that's what they're trying to do. It's really, as I said, they're just trying to amplify it, right? With either fear, make you apathetic, or make you angry. And then when you have those 3 emotions, and you're being controlled by how they want you to do something, right? Where you step into compassion, they don't understand it, right? That's why the cops in Ottawa failed so miserably, right? The guys on their hands and knees praying in front of them are just very peaceful. They don't know how to react to that. They want you to get back, so
they're not trained for that.
No, they want to smash you, right? They really do. And when you don't give them that room, it affects their human side, and it really got to a lot of it. I was talking to some of the vets that were there, and they were just like, we formed the wall at the front, and it was really just hard back and forth, and we had the grandmothers praying behind us, and you could see the cops wanted that love, right? But that's why they brought in the guys that are not too sure where they're from. I mean, we could go down conspiracy rabbit holes with that one, but there was guys that brought in, right? And they were just, because what would happen is that you have built a relationship the last few weeks, the police officers on the street, right, with the people there, right? So they're going to have a human touch. So they needed somebody in there that could go in and really just like drop the hammer, right? And be like, Trudeau is fully Ceausescu, right? Like Romania. That's where he went with this. I was like, whoa. I think it just went fast.
Sorry, Todd.
No, it's all good, man.
I'm just going to take a quick second. I got to tell my brother to fuck off. Derek, fuck off. I'm sharing the video, so go ahead. Sorry, Todd. My brother texted me and said, "Get off your fucking phone." I was like, "Well, I gotta share this shit out." So because he's an asshole and an Aries, I want to say, "Fuck you, Derek. Shut your fucking mouth. Comment on there."
But you're very observant.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you for telling me to get off my phone, though. At the same time, fuck you. Sorry, Todd. I interrupted.
No.
Or so I kicked your microphone on you.
Wet. No, it's all good. You got big feet. No, it's
that's a trip, eh?
Well, it is, and all that kind of stuff. I think I said it before. Is that how can you control this world that's around there, right? Like I've tried, it didn't work. And it hurt my back actually. Yeah. So instead, it's like when you get angry at somebody else and you expect them to die. How's that going to work? you're drinking poison yourself and expecting the other person to die because
Yeah.
anger is a poison,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, I'm angry at you, but you're drinking the poison. He doesn't even know you're angry at him, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I mean. So it's like,
It's been interesting to
I
see
remember
some
this too.
folks who are getting all angry that how dare we not follow the line, the narrative, whatever you want to call it. But when you don't respond back with that same vitriol, yeah, they don't
they don't know how to
like
handle
that.
it.
They don't know how to handle it, and it takes them for a spin. And yeah, I don't hate them. I just kind of see it as I just feel sad for them more than anything. It's
Well,
like,
that's it,
man,
and I think that's where you'll fluctuate, right? Because
Yeah.
I was speaking about this with my wife earlier this week, and I was saying, I'm sad about a lot of things, and that's why I've been so angry lately. Because sadness is not an emotion that's really empowering. When I got to get the kids to school, you got to
Yeah.
do everything else and all that. I can't be
Yeah.
sad. I got to be dad, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
yeah,
So it's like, okay, but I go to the mat, and that's not so good either, right?
Yeah.
And that's where they want us.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
that's why you got to take that chance. I don't know if you're able to try it in that musical yoga or anything else, or really center yourself, right? Because to handle truth, and what I teach is what I call Sat Chitananda Rupam, right? Sat, which is truth, Chit, consciousness, Ananda, bliss, and Rupam, beauty, right? That's all
wow.
there is. That's what that is that Sat Chitananda Rupam. It's even a mantra. I'll sing that actually when I'm petting my dog. Sat Chitananda Rupam. Shivoham, Shivoham, Satchitananda Rupam, Shivoham, Shivoham. So Sat, truth, Chit, consciousness, Ananda, bliss, Rupam is a beauty, and Shivoham is like a feminine way of expressing the Holy Spirit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
The dog must just love that, eh?
yeah. Oh yeah, I know it is. It's when you pet them, you just relax them down.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's a
I'll be right back,
mantra
boys.
that's quite energetic, right? As we're talking about. So when you build yourself a stable platform, then you're able to handle the truth because it's getting weird, man. Like I was watching one of the guys I follow, and they were talking about like Russia's gone into Ukraine because there's arcs and giant spaceships now underneath different cities that are about to raise up, and they got to take it. And I was just looking at that today because a normal guy I follow, and I'm just like I'm just not ready for that. So I don't care. Like, how's that helping me, man? Like, I was like, okay, we got spaceships coming into the Earth soon. Like, okay, it's a bit much now.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I'll just go in the woods and sing or do this because at the same time you got to look where's that balance, right? How's that going to affect me, right? How's just all this? It's like, okay, so now they're distracting me with spaceships. So the alt guys are distracting you with spaceships. They're distracting you with nuclear wars, right? All of a sudden, COVID's kind of gone away, sort of.
Yeah,
it's just like everything's just
all
gone.
disappeared.
And I saw Pfizer. I don't know. Pfizer released this data this week, and a whole bunch of people are retiring. I saw all of a sudden the Ontario Health Minister wanted to retire quickly.
Man,
and stuff like that.
I flicked on my little phone. I got my little source of information I go through.
Yeah.
But when I got my new phone, you kind of right click and it'll take you right to a Yahoo news feed sort of thing, And it's usually just a bunch of pablum BS. And they're always trying to sell me something, figure me out. So the stories are all kind of weird. I get a few space things. Obviously, I must have searched a few things up like that. But today, just sitting in the car, and I was like, I wonder if I check, the news in a while. Flick over. First story. It's probably still there. Not at all as I was expecting. I was expecting, I don't know, I wasn't expecting anything. Some BS about Dr. Tam sitting there or something. Let's see. Oh, they got rid of it, son of a bitch.
They do that if it's a good story.
Oh, the new one. Striking new evidence points to Wuhan seafood market as the pandemic's origin point. Yeah, sure, boys. No, what it was a story about the Pfizer data leak. And it said FDC.
The 9-page document you're talking
Well,
about?
no, it
Is
said
that what you're talking
FDC missed you over 1,200 adverse effects. And it went a little half a paragraph, and it goes, some examples might be
Abortion?
and it lists stillbirths were one of them.
Yeah.
But it listed about 75 things in a row, all bad ones out of the 1,200. And basically
it's up 495% over any other vaccine in injuries. But yeah, so it's up there.
So it was strange to see that on suddenly the normal news feed.
And then see people retiring and all this kind of stuff.
Yes,
And that's it. But you get a lot of money behind things and a
Yep.
lot of interests that were there, right? So it's got to, you got to think, when you think Pfizer, you got to think of Pfizer and Israel are really connected, right? You might as well say Fizrael these days.
Yeah.
And it was 36 something a shot, or anyways, we had the billions and billions of shots over contracts and stuff. And it was just money, right?
Yeah.
And it's money's a big, it's
Money's a
thing,
driving
right?
factor always.
We're
Well,
kind of
that's it, right?
next because we were Pfizer land too, right? Pretty much that was the big one in Canada, right?
Yeah, well, it really is. And
Canada
Apotex
has their own now.
Well, we had Apotex, right? So Barry
Yeah.
Sherman.
Yeah, that one.
Well, he was killed, and
Yeah.
that's actually I was friends with the family and stuff.
Oh,
so
really?
I know a lot about Barry, and I had a lot of friends when I grew up and stuff in that community. So.
Okay.
And I won't really go on that now
my
because
face
there were
back.
some things that were going off on investigation
you-
because JT, their old Justin Trudeau, was supposed to go to court on March 31st of January 2020 involved with the Sherman investigation.
Yes.
But he shut down all the courts, so it was
Right.
delayed and everything else. And so, but I'm good friends with the family, and there's some things that will be coming out of there too eventually, right?
Wow.
Like there's a lot of things that will be coming out too, right? They were trying to distract us from, and that's why all this other stuff is going on because.
Mhm.
People are starting to find out. Hold on, I have a friend that's a biker guy that used to go to the raves at the Picton Farm, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's it, right? So this stuff is coming out, so they're going to find out about what happened, and that's where he used to take. To be a police chief in Canada, right?
Yeah.
At a certain level, whether you're on the bikers or you're this, you all work for the same person, right? Because police chiefs are all owned by some sort of mafioso or some sort of. They're all bought in different ways, right?
Okay. Right.
Not the common policeman, and that's not it too, and not the common soldiers, but there's different key positions that have been really, and this stuff is going to have to really be torn around, right?
Yeah. You don't
And
buy
torn
off
down.
the foot cop. You buy off the guy. Tell him the foot cop.
Yeah,
where to
well,
go.
and
Right.
you bring them in and you put it in and you
Yeah.
plan, right? And,
Yep.
and you got to think the strategy of this is people think long term and keep people distracted in the short term. But at the same time, any of that doesn't matter. One of my favorite teachers, I think I was saying last time, is Krishna. Is like, you can't change it, dude. Like, why are you trying? Because every time you try, you're just creating more karma, right? Because how I think the world should be and how you think the world should be and how he thinks the world should be is probably slightly different. And then there's nothing worse than people trying to do good and trying to make this is how I think the world should be and everything else. And
The
going
world
out
should
there.
be how the world is, and that's how it
Well,
is.
that's it. So a consciousness thing is a sense of identity. People have lost a sense of identification, right? They identify too much with their mind, ego, and body, right? Not of their true nature, right? This is a supercomputer that you're in, that you're boring to
Best
living, right?
supercomputer ever fucking
Yeah, there's
built.
different apps on your phone. There's different apps. There's more apps in this supercomputer that's this human body in different ways that you could use and learn to use it. And the world is going to have to change, where it's going to have to rethink itself, right? But yeah, no, it comes from this great pain, and there's a lot of people that were incarnated here. But you got to your sense of identity, when there's a sense of separation, when there's a sense of me and them, us and them, right, wrong, left, up, down, all this kind of stuff. It's just like it's all external to yourself. Meanwhile, all the battles that you see outside are just a reflection of the battles that are going inside of you. So it's
Said
much,
Yoda.
so it's much better to look within inside yourself and fix those battles. Because when I was younger, I was fucked up. I'm not gonna lie, right? But I'm a little less fucked up, but just differently fucked up. I don't know how to look at that, right? Like how that works, but
Yeah. Really.
but
It's called aging. Eh?
yeah, it's just it's still fucked up. At least now I know
Yeah.
it. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, before I didn't think I was.
Yeah.
Right?
Jeez. Really.
Yeah. But these growth periods, sorry, these it's about transformation at a certain point, and that's one thing I learned through it. I kept trying to grow, and it's like, how fucking big do you gotta grow, right? Like eventually you gotta transform. You gotta become the flower. You gotta become the the Buddhist mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum, right? Paying homage to the jewel of the lotus, right? So the heart center again.
Okay.
Right, that's the lotus that they're always referring to, is that flower that's your heart of light, right? So that connection you have to source energy.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
I want to take a quick second and say hi to everybody in YouTube land, and we're back on TikTok, and we got a couple people watching us on TikTok. Give you a couple of horns up, you know what I mean? A couple of love horns. Say hello to everybody. Everybody.
Hello,
Welcome
everybody.
for coming by on a Friday night and on a sober Friday night. Well, maybe a little bit high. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, true.
High on life, baby.
High
Funny,
on the life.
You guys were talking a
You're
little
like
bit.
stone sober, aren't you?
Yeah, and you were talking a little bit about fasting with intention and stuff. And
Yeah.
I intended on fasting every weekend for weird reasons, but I'm starting early this week because I didn't bring a lunch to work, and I felt great. So then I went and did a Reiki session with my friend, and I was like, you know what? I guess I'm on the fast early.
I don't eat until supper time now. It's
But you
fucking
see,
weird.
that's going with
Yeah.
the flow. That's a really good way. I actually did a hard fast before my birthday, and then
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did 3 days of just water fast.
Mhm.
Well, actually, water, and I use lime juice and some cranberry and stuff.
That's what I do too.
Yeah,
I
so-
love the.
Yeah, just that mix. It really alkaline. It's about a system
Yeah.
of keeping your system alkaline, right? That's very important. So the more acidic you become, the more sick you become. So
Do you
want to
put
get alkaline,
salt
right?
in as well?
Yeah, sometimes pepper, honey too.
Okay, yeah.
Honey's really good.
Do you still
Honey's-
use turmeric?
So yeah, I still use turmeric. Pine pollen's fantastic too.
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah.
detoxing and stuff
Oh,
like
cool.
that
I
as
haven't
well,
tried that.
right?
I
Yeah.
live off. Well, this is just water and a bit of salt, but every day. That's for 2-3 years. Well,
You're still doing the yin yang water?
no, because I moved. So I moved, and I've been trying not to wake my roommate up. So
How is that?
landlord.
How's
It's
that going?
fantastic. But
Yeah. We gotta have him back
so
on.
instead, I just drink alkaline water. He's got this beautiful filtered well water, and he's got the alkaline rocks in it. But I've always done. I call it homemade Gatorade to get my little nephew going, so he doesn't want junk food. But it's basically just water, salt. I prefer hickory smoked salt. I
Have you
love
tried
it.
the silver oxide water?
No, not yet. Not
Yeah,
yet.
that's the key, right? Because I was doing actually some really
Can you explain that in a little
well.
more
Yeah,
Well,
detail?
let's talk about this, right? Because gold and silver, they turned it into money. It used to be edible, right? That's how we used to digest it, and it helped us live as long as trees.
Right.
Oh yeah, because that was our medicine. So when they came to Ireland in the centuries and stuff, we used gold as jewelry, and that we didn't have a money system, right?
Yeah.
So they built a big lavish kind of center, and they said, hey, come in, the lords and stuff, and here's some meat and that. They're like, hey, you want this stuff, right? All the luxuries from Rome, and they're like, yeah, this is cool. I could do with this. They're like, yeah, well, you got to work for us. You build this stuff, and they started building all the cathedrals across Ireland and stuff, and they had that money exchange. So they took, because before that, if you take silver and you put silver in the oxide, that's why the old ancients and stuff were blue, because if you drink enough of it, you become blue, but you live forever.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's that's where the
I've
blue
heard
is.
this one too before.
Yeah, but the silver oxide, if you drink too much of it, but it's a really good. It will help you live for a long time. And the same thing with gold. That was what the arc was, right? And that's what the pine pollen is. It's a whole thing mixed up. Is that they used to take the gold. It's Starfire Anunnaki kind of stuff that's coming through that they passed on through. Who is it that met Moses up on the mountain there? That was Jethro of Hathor Temple, right? And he's the. I know they say it's somebody else in them, but that's also control. But he was an Anunnaki on the earth and the guardian of the time, but he gave them that knowledge for the ark and everything else, right? Yeah.
So is it the same as colloidal silver? Or is
Yeah,
that
colloidal
different?
silver. That's it. I'm just actually just getting into this and learning to set it up, right? Because I was doing some research on it.
My buddy Bob, my landlord,
Bob Rock.
Great guy.
Been on the show a couple times as
And
well. Shout out
he
to
was-
Bob.
It's expensive, eh? Like colloidal silver is expensive. And I remember he was telling me, it was a great story. He was swimming. I think it was in Indonesia. He'll have to correct me. I can't remember now.
Correct him, Bob.
Anyways, the ocean was a mess. It was a mess. It was gross. And he's like, shit, I'm gonna get really fucking sick off this. I gotta do something. So he went to the local pharmacy and said, yeah, can I get like a little bottle of colloidal silver? And she's like, over there. And he goes over and it's these huge, like 2-liter pop bottles of the stuff. And it's dirt cheap. He's like, what's the deal? She's like, oh, well, nobody has doctors here. It's kind of expensive. So we use this and it cures us of everything. So,
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
he got it and sprayed it all over himself. And
But
was
this
fine.
has been hidden from
Yeah.
us, right? The silver and gold, they didn't want us to use it to heal ourselves. They turned it into a
Yeah.
money system, made us work for it so we could get the meat and all the other
At
luxuries.
the same time, they keep it
And
from
meanwhile, they keep the gold and the silver so they
We
can
use the
live very
paper they
long,
give
healthy
us.
lives, right?
Maybe that's what the queen's doing. She's chomping on gold. Every
Yeah,
night. She's
well,
got all
it is.
kinds.
It's gold and silver. Yeah, she really
Wow.
does. I used to hear on Thursday she would go down with her guard. I've had a few friends that work very close to that area, and she would just survey her gold every Thursday morning. And it was just these acreages of gold under the castle.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, like a real dragon, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like
I want to give a quick shout out to our boy Jamie Norad on there, Skyrunner.
Hey.
He was telling us that he's our Qigong master, by the way. Helps
Yep.
me and Chris out. He's teaching us
Oh, nice.
Qigong. He said he did a 3-day fast.
Oh,
We
Oh,
were
nice,
talking about
nice,
fasting
nice.
there.
Yeah, that's
Plus, I want to give a shout out or another
well,
acknowledgement to TikTok there. Somebody on TikTok said they missed me saying something, so I'm going to give her a little bit of what's going on, Metal Dad here.
nice.
Because they missed me doing that because I haven't been doing it on TikTok. So
all right.
Oh yeah.
just want to jump in
Metal
there. I
Dad,
hit your
yeah.
fucking mic. I'm going to move that for you. But
No, that's
anyway,
okay.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Jamie there.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
He made a
Well,
comment.
3 days is key, right? Because it takes 3 days for your system to reboot. So
Right, you keep talking. I'm
yeah,
going to
yeah,
adjust.
you'll move it. We'll adjust. Yeah. Yeah.
You can keep talking.
3 days, anyways, right? So yeah, the 3-day fast itself, it will recycle everything in your body. That it's kind of like having your own reset of your whole system for
Yeah.
immunity. Immunity is the key in that one, right? Developing
Yeah.
that. And
All right.
I mean, I've learned these from different because you got to look at your body in a few different ways. And one of the more important things in your body, obviously, is your heart, but in the blood system that you have. But you also have something called lymph fluid, right?
Yep.
And that's the key.
Your lymph-
Yeah.
lymphatic system.
Well, it is. So around every cell is liquid, and the mitochondria that swim around in the cell and all that kind of stuff, as we know it, it's all in that liquid. And that liquid is called lymph.
Mhm.
So you got 4 to 5 times as much lymph as you do blood, right? So let's go to the circulatory system. I was talking about this.
Can you
with
say
the
that
kid.
number again?
4 to 5 times the amount of lymph fluid as you do blood. So when we look at
I did
blood,
not know that.
when we look at blood, our heart beats 115,000 times a day. That's pretty impressive when you think about it. It pushes that blood through 127,000 kilometers. That's 5 times around the world of a circulatory system. That's an impressive. And then now we have a lymph system, right? Now that has 4 to 5 times that amount of blood, but it has no pump.
Right.
Right? So it has no. So this is where breathing really comes in. There's a yogic alkaline breathing, alkaline living, everything else, because you can move your lymph fluid. And a lot of it was really research done is that they noticed that athletes at the time when I used to work in insurance too, right? When I got out, I got in finance, so I'd see the actuaries and they would talk about the people in, the average person had a 1 in 3 chance at the time, anyways, of getting cancer or something like that. But athletes was like 1 in 7 or 1 in 9. And what are they doing? They're cycling their lymph fluid. They're moving and stuff like that. They're breathing. So by being athletic, getting outside, getting the trees, and just cycling your lymph fluid, one of the best ways for energy, though, with breathing, and I learned this from one of the gurus in India, is you breathe in. Sorry, I'll make sure I have the ratio right here. It was a 2. Breathe in a 1. Hold for 4, out for 2, right? So if I breathe in for 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 2, right? Or hold for 4, then I'd hold for 16 seconds. And then I breathe out for 8. So that's the ratio. So it was a 1, 4, 2. So, and it's one of the best ways. So if I breathe in for whatever I'm breathing in, so if I breathe in for, let's just say 5 seconds. And now I'd hold that breath for 20 seconds. And not to bore everybody, but just that it would be. And then I would breathe that out for 10. Really slow, 10 seconds. 10 breaths like that, energetic breaths 3 times a day. It will cycle your lymph fluid. It works like a vacuum and help that, right? So in Qigong, he would understand this too, because I've done it too, because you want to hit all your lymph under your armpits, right? And your
that's one of the things you
groin
taught us, which I
areas,
haven't been
right?
doing. I got to do.
Yeah, you got to do that. Your chi points are back in your kidneys, right? When you hear that. So before I even get into my meditations, right, I'm getting up and making sure I'm opening up my meridian lines and those lymph fluids and stuff. It's all connected to each other, right? Because you want to get that lymph fluid going, right? Because when you're doing those movements of Qigong, you're going back down and you're coming up. It's different meridians, so you're touching your kidney, like your spleen, your pancreas, things like that. Your liver meridians up in the inner thigh, things like that.
Okay.
So the energy flows that go in, and that lymph fluid. So the breathing, that lymph fluid, and then you could add the Wim Hof in there and stuff. And you could really, and
I did that
people,
once.
yeah, people start saying, oh, like you become superhuman, but I don't say that. You just become human. You start reaching your potential, right? We all have that potential.
Start using your body properly.
Yeah, your body, your mind, and your spirit, right? And
I really notice it now when I don't use my body properly, and I'm either using it or even if I even go off just a little bit. Me and Hannah were talking about it earlier. Somebody was trying to convince her that if she's lactose intolerant and she switches her mindset, she can just kind of get rid of that. And we're just like, but that's not a real thing. If you use your body improperly, first of all, lactose or whatever milk products we're using, we're not even supposed to consume. We've made that up.
Well, it also has to do with the A1. You're right, because the A1
It's all
protein,
shit.
right? The A1 protein is actually rather carcinogenic. It was supposed to be the A2. We got the wrong fucking cows, right? I went to this before. Yeah,
it's not even the wrong cows. It's we only are supposed to drink milk from our mother's breast until we develop teeth to chew our own meat.
Well, that's it too.
That's all
right?
milk is liquefied meat.
Yeah. Well,
that's all it is.
In that connection too, one thing I do like with the milk, because I've seen it when I go in, because I don't like just to get rid of things or anything else, because when I was in the back countries, the Himalayas and stuff, people have these beautiful relationships with the cows, right? And they see them how kind of we have the dogs, but they drink the milk. But you know, the cow is the only animal that will come to, and they've told me this several places. I haven't seen it yet. I want to, but if not that I want to be at a funeral, but if you have a relationship with a cow, it's one of the only animals that will come to your funeral and cry. And it's a very sacred animal, right? So they really see drinking the milk from it. Yeah, it will. And I was told this in India and also in Nepal and then also in Bhutan. And that's the cows are very connected to us, right? So that milk relationship stuff, it's different. It's just about having relationships, right? Like I think there was years ago I was reading a book about the 100-acre farm and the grass-fed cows and all that kind of stuff. And looking back, right? And it's not that I'm against eating meat in any which way, form, or what you could have. It's really what you really want to put in your karmic input or how you're eating stuff, eating clean.
You have to be grateful for it.
Well, that's it. You could eat anything. You have that right. You know, we have the story in the First Nations that we were all starving here when we came to Turtle Island because it was freezing, right? So the deer popped us on the shoulder, like, "Hey, buds, you got to eat us," right? Like that's how it works over here in the winter. Yeah. And it's like, okay, yeah, thank you, but do it out of respect and release our heart and sing to our spirit, right? Because the animal has to have a chance to forgive you. And that was the original creator's belief in the creator's story, is that you got to give the animal a chance to forgive you, right?
Kind of like what they did in Avatar, where they said thank you or apologize.
You apologize for it. So, but at the same time, you know, like you eat a chicken, it might be mad at you and it might be a ghost for a little bit, but it's going to fucking forget about you because it's a fucking chicken, right? But now you're eating a cow that has a cow that has the capacity to come to your funeral and cry because it has a connection to you, and you treated that thing very inhumanely in any which way or form.
Right.
You know, that energetic being, you know, that part of it, which is just a part of yourself, will never forgive yourself, and there'll be a guilt smear, right? You're a stain. When we talk about amita, or perfect consciousness, in that flow, we're talking about a perfect, unstained kind of thing, right? We stain ourselves with our actions that we take. So it's not looking at good or evil, just you take an action, and because of that, you're going to stain yourself in a certain way. It's not that. So when you hunt an animal and you pay that respect and you release its heart and you sing to the spirit, and even that's, I was talking about that with the kids the other day at supper, and why we say grace. It's bigger than everything, because we're asking forgiveness for everything that we're eating, right? And a plant just has as much right to life as a cow. Like but the thing is, what's its karma, right? Like it's not gonna. A cow could do much more in the world and have much more feelings. It's much more of a sentient being, right? So if you're going to eat something like that, it needs to be done with respect, and then that way it could forgive you for the reason why, because it understands that it's food, right? It just does it. Just eat me right, you know. That's very key in what you'll see in the future, because you know, in the winter months, you know, just to say, oh, the world has to go all vegan or the world has to do this, it's not necessarily going to work, right? And there's different blood types, there's different things that we have to. Yeah. I'm tired of everybody trying to force each other on each other.
Yeah, there's actually a disease for some people that if you don't eat meat,
and that's fine. But what things is we just have to reimagine how we do things with conscious effort. That's all I'm saying, right? So you know, the factory farming thing, you know, I never saw that in Germany. So I lived in Germany for a couple of years, really, on and off, and the food there was great. In that local, you know, going to the bakery again instead of just a big store. They still did it, and they still managed.
Milk across the street.
Yeah,
you know, that was my sister's buddy. What's her name? I forget. Anyways, they had the cows over there, and we'd go get the milk. And
well, that's it. We grow vegetables in our houses and stuff, and you know, you make friends with a farmer, right? Get his. You know, I remember that I was talking about my parents my dad was smart that way. I had a friend with a farmer because every year he would get the cow, and then like the whole like we get half a cow in the freezer and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we had a connection to the food, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and we've lost that, right? And that's one of
Yeah.
the reasons you have a lot of these problems that you have with eating the food. It pulls a heavy karmic debt on the person's soul, right?
Yeah.
It really does. Just to have these mass beautiful animals just get slaughtered for your sustenance
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
when you could do it in a more conscious effort. Is that all we
Yeah.
ask?
And then
right?
everybody can take part in it as well.
Exactly,
And then
yeah.
we don't get detached from what we're doing, because a lot of the problem too is we're all detached from
And
eating
then
the
there's
food.
Yes, we need a relationship.
The scam of getting people away from that is a great way, if you're a big investor who doesn't want to do it, to make money.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's kind of what's going on. You know, a lot of the impetus behind the vegan, that's movement. It's not from the vegans themselves, the people who want it, but people taking advantage of the thing, saying, "Oh, we're going to go with this Beyond Meat." And you look into that, the way that stuff
oh yeah,
is
that's not
made,
good
it's
either, right?
not
Like
good.
it's printed stuff, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of our
And-
meat's also cloned, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really strange that way too. So, but there's it's just a different taste with everything. Like
Give a
when you
couple
get,
pop sounds.
Pop, 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 pop. a little
Yeah,
bit.
there you go.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, okay. I just had to turn the bass
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, and it's fun. So an interesting, mental gymnastic would be. So what does the wolf think before he goes to eat a person? Are they sitting there going to each other like, I don't know, we're kind of hungry. We could go get a deer, but it's right
Well-
there. We might pay for it, but
no, but
Does the
they
tiger
don't have
think
that,
that,
right?
right?
Yeah,
No, they just go for it.
yeah, they go for it because they're definitely just in their five senses. So that's one thing about the human platform that we have. That's our gift,
Yeah.
is that we're able to transcend the five senses and go within.
or at least we assume they don't.
Well, yes, because yeah,
Maybe they pray their own way, right?
they definitely
Right,
do.
like,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, they have their own connections,
Different
to,
rules,
to
They
the
have-
energy and stuff. But the
But
one
they're
thing,
also different dimensional beings than we are too.
Yeah,
it's
they're-
very evident.
well, there's a definite connection from different areas and stuff, right? Because if you look at the world and itself, Earth, it's said to be the library of the galaxy. So they have
Yeah.
many different animals and species from all over the galaxy that they keep here.
Everywhere in the
You know,
galaxy has something here.
And also that humans are made of that 22 different types of DNA from different parts of the Galactic Federation, and also the Sicardian Reptilian Empire, right?
And everything on the planet.
Yeah, but the reason why is because what was happening, you can look at this in the Hindi scriptures, really, when you get really back in the ancient times, that gods had this discussion with each other because they're upset, they're killing each other too much, right? They're destroying each other's planets and stuff. So they said,
Yeah.
hey, let's create this Earth simulation. We'll try to kill each other down there, and then we won't destroy the universe. And so
Oh, jeez.
we'll war down on Earth.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, well, that's yeah, well, that was basically it, right?
Great deal for you, all right?
Yeah, it's a great deal for
Way to
them.
throw
But
us
we're
in the
down
middle.
here.
Let
and
the kids fight.
so
We'll have a
we
beer.
build, so as above, so below, right? That's why
Yeah.
they tell us
Yeah.
that. So as above, so below. So they stopped destroying planets because they were doing the whole like Death Star thing and destroying
Yeah,
up planets
yeah.
and stuff. And like when you look at it, Brahma meets Shiva, and they're like, okay, like we got to stop killing each other up here. It's
Yeah.
not working out.
Yeah.
So that's part of the Earth
Nobody
experiment.
wins.
Yeah.
You keep getting reincarnated.
Yeah, so put everybody in this simulation, and people could be incarnated in this from these different planets and zones, fight each other here on Earth.
Wow.
This is all contained here, kind of like fight them over there instead of fighting them here. Sort of
Yeah.
idea, but
That's why they have
but
a
yeah.
firmament.
and then but at the same time, as we can make the new peace here, we can make peace in the galaxy, as above, so below. And that's one of the
Right.
things the Buddha always said that the angels were afraid of was change, just as much as we are. They don't want to change either. They're all screaming, fighting each other as above, so
Yeah.
below. There's a spiritual war in heaven as below right now.
Yeah,
I can't understand the concept of that with my limited pea brain over here, but it's
Well,
like,
you are
yeah,
human.
yeah, well, that's it, right? So from my reality, I'm like, okay, because it's like if you're in three-dimensional reality or two-dimensional reality on a paper, you don't know what the third dimension is until you step
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
the paper,
yeah.
right? And then I don't really understand. I get it from going within. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking this is what 5D and everything is really using my mind's eye and going within the side of things instead of just my open eyes and my external eyes,
Right.
right? But yeah,
Creating your reality.
well, yeah, it is. It's well, the reality's already been created, though, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's just your frequency is aligning to the reality that you've already created because you're not separate from any of it. So if you just change your frequency and hold your heart in a frequency that you want to feel, that's the reality you will experience because you cannot help but attract it to yourself through magnetism.
It's
It's
interesting.
really that simple, but we can't do it because we like to worry in the future or
Yeah.
worry in the past, right? But if you live here and now in the frequency, then what's the problem?
It's neat to think about, again, to go to the as above, so below, the idea of people kind of get this idea of something like the gods and spirit. How could we possibly comprehend? And you go, well, if they're so smart, how come they haven't figured it out?
Well, they're not so smart.
You know what I
That's
mean?
what we
It's
say. That's
that
why we call
human
it
side.
Yeah, well, that's it, right?
Or not
That's-
human side, but I guess approachable maybe is
Well,
another way to
you
put
know,
it.
they really hid the devas from us, right? Or the Elohim, or whatever else, the people from above, the
Right.
Anunnaki, the different systems, the star systems, the Orion star systems, right? The Circadian Empire that's on contract with Eisenhower in 1952 to keep the nuclear weapons, right? The Venusians, the Venusians were trying to sign it, but they had to get rid of all the weapons of mass destruction. But the industrial complex didn't want to have that.
Right.
That's part of the reason why they tied to Kennedy and stuff. So there's a lot of big stuff that we could just tie into that brought us to this point over thousands
get the
of years.
tinfoil on.
Yeah, well, it is tinfoil in a lot of
Tinfoil
ways.
time.
Or take it off.
But
One of the two.
But you
I'm
got
not
to
sure, right?
you got to see where this starts, right?
Yeah.
If you look at it from a Western model, you got to start that when Eve was in the garden, she was beguiled, right? And what does that mean? She was beguiled by the green man, and the green man, who's the green man? The green man was somebody that came from a different place, a different planet, really.
Right.
What do you think? And he got her pregnant, and Adam got her pregnant. So this theory, what the deep state believe, right? I'm talking about this is their belief system, right? This is not the Christians and that. So Cain and Abel were born at the same time. And Cain is their descendant of this sort of bloodlines that gives the 13 bloodlines.
yeah.
You see what I mean? And then Abel was born of Adam, and this through. So the green man beguiled, so that they are related to that green man.
Right.
That goes all the way back, right? So that's so whenever you see like green man suits and the green man stuff and all that, that's all Hollywood throwing out the cheers to the devil, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's who it is.
Yeah.
That's it.
Interesting.
The man that
'cause,
leaves.
Yeah,
right?
you did see that after a while. It started appearing into pop culture there.
Yeah, the green man. You see him running around. They're just
Yeah.
like shouting the devil. It's hidden in plain sight, right?
Yeah.
And order out of chaos. These are things
Yeah.
they do, right? This
Yeah.
is, but this is their belief system. Everything else very important to understand because belief is very empowering. Where they get their beliefs from, right? And
Sure.
and so to look at that in the history of why that happened, and even who knows, I can't say anything in that, right? But we could get in the history of our own history if we look at Moses, right? Or Moshe himself, one of our favorite characters. But Moshe didn't perform any of those miracles. It was actually Miriam, if you get in the book of Joshua.
Okay.
Well, I was talking about the hidden text of the Bible and the Gnostic teachings. Miriam performed she parted the sea. She did everything. She was the leader. He was the patriarchal leader. And the political leader, but he didn't do any of these miraculous powers. He actually even threw her in jail. It's all in the book of Joshua because he wanted the fame and the fortune himself. And so Miriam was hidden. She was like that Mary Magdalene at the time to keep the power there.
Yeah.
But again, it was that divine feminine teaching, right? But that goes back to these bloodlines of the original parts, right? And then there's different people have visited from different parts. So you get this fellow that shows up whose name is Baal.
Yeah.
And he wants the child and everything else. And he lands in Syria up in Hebron. There's a little temple up there, the temple. And he comes down here about 3,000 years ago. And then he's built all the temples of Jupiter and everything else and all that stuff and the archways and that. And so these different Mahasattvayas have come on and preyed on humanity and our weaknesses for thousands of years. So in the last few years, we've actually been freed from this, but the Galactic Federation can't do anything about it yet because every simulation they run, humanity just has mass suicides and start killing each other because the world is not ready for that sort of thing yet.
Oh, wow.
So they have to let out biblical prophecy play. So that's where I was going with Russia and wormwood. So it's all happening.
Now we're coming back to it.
Yes.
Finally.
Oh, it's circles. I like to go in circles, right? Because it's how people learn. You got
Well, it's a big story.
It's a big story. You got to go one place to know the other one. Yeah.
It's not one fucking thing. Like I keep getting in fights with people online about it. They're just like, well, what about this? I was like, well, no, it's all connected.
But it is all connected, right? Because we are all connected.
It's like life, yeah.
We are connected. It's not anything in this is not separate from you. You are all part of this story. And you're just as special as we all are in it, right? Whether it's Putin, whether it's anybody, whether it's you. You carry as much weight in this simulation as anything else. They just make you not believe that. How powerful you are, right? They don't want you to know that, right? So they told you you're not powerful.
They want to keep you down.
They want to keep you down. They want to make you feel the guilty, right? But we're stepping into the age of human, right? This is where that power comes back. So they can't wake up. So we got to let it play itself out. That's why they said Israel's for last, right? So there's certain things that will happen, and unfortunately, It requires the lowest form of faith is miracles, so they make things
Right.
look miraculous, so they could get the general population to go on. But this is where I said where they've realized that Earth in the third dimension is not going to be able to be fixed, right? So it's gone. It's not gone yet, but it's going that way. So that's why I said it's very important to be ready for that light, right? To work into your heart. And it also doesn't matter if you had the experiments or not, right? The experiment will fuck with your EMF mostly.
You
For the
can flush
light,
that out of your system.
you can flush it, and
Your
you're
body
a
will eventually
multidimensional
purge it.
being, right? Like if you're attracted, you're missing the point if you're stuck in your body still. What I'm saying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're this energy. The energy of you will connect to the fucking energy of the universe. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And that's what you got to. Don't worry about this body. This is just a rental, man.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever left
Yeah.
the planet with it, man. Well, except for in space, right? But like when you
Yeah.
die, it
But
goes,
have we even gotten
it goes,
to space?
Well,
Can we get through the Van Allen belt?
But this is what I don't even
Or are we
really
just
understand, right? Because
are we just
I don't
permanent
have that
fucking-
experience, right?
Permanent fucking free fall or whatever that is.
Well,
Because there's a point up there where you're just in permanent free fall, apparently.
of course,
And that's how the space station stays up there.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
got to be
And
something
it's
like
not
that.
actually out of the planet.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that going on here, right? That we can't,
Yeah.
you can't touch in that, but because it's a simulation, and as I said, it's powered by belief. It's
Right.
manifested, right? So human, right?
We just went- we just-
Hue is energy, man is manifester, right? So human, you're an energy manifester. So there's in the Forbidden City, you'll see the dragon, and it has its hand over the bowl.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's them controlling the world. They're letting you know. So when you look at the Canadian coat of arms, right, you have
Yeah.
the unicorn from Scotland, the SCOTUS. You have
Yeah.
the Lion of Judah, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the chain that goes up and down. There's a break into the chain. That's them.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah. So there's the break in the chain. And that break in the chain allows the government to control your consciousness, right? You've given that to that, right? Under the coat of arms of the Queen, and that's all there. It's symbolism again, hidden in plain sight to control the people, right? Under law, right? Land, air, and water. Right. So you have land, and then language we were talking about sound. There's three sacred languages that Latin is the language of land. Air, it's Hebrew, and water, it's Sanskrit. Like I told you,
Oh,
so
okay,
so the three sacred languages of the three living elements,
Right.
which make up law, which you're ruled under the law, land, air, and water, right? And it's all tied in
So
together.
what's the language of fire? Or is there one?
Well, there isn't really, right? Because that's the thing. They don't have to control fire because we don't live in fire, but we are made of fire. 'Cause we
yeah,
have a
okay.
temperature, yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
what they had to control at the time, because it was the Phoenicians and the Khazarian Mafia and all this kind of stuff that came back and forth. When they wrote the law, they wanted to control the land, the air, and the water. How to control everybody in these areas, right? That's why it's like you know. And then they use English language, which is a very it's actually a backwards language to give them power in spelling, right? I understand means I stand under you, right? So it's all that maritime law and everything else in this speech.
And here I am the whole time thinking French were the backwards ones.
No, that's it. Well, Hebrew is written from right to left.
Holy fuck.
Well, that's why they try to destroy these
Fuck you,
languages, right? And
Yeah,
get the whole
Japanese is
world
right
to speak
to left
English.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
languages
right
are.
to left is this, but English is written because COVID this way means COVID, and in Hebrew it means divak and demon and devil, right?
Oh wow.
Because it's written the other way, but they cast that spell on us. So we when we say these words, we're casting spells, right?
Right.
And so I understand means I understand. I stand under you, right? And then you've given all your power to the law of the land, air, and water of the Phoenician government and everything else.
Right.
Under the crown and the unicorn and the coat of arms with the link that's broken in the chain, that means they control your consciousness, and you've allowed it all to happen because you capitalized your birth certificate and given it and made a contract and a corporation with the government.
And born right into it, and
And nobody knows this. So in every deal it
lickety-split.
is, right? That's why I sign my name always now with lowercase letters, right? Because I
Black
don't sign
magic.
for corporate Todd, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's all just a play on words. It's black magic, and it's how they've controlled you, right? It's why the Bible's written a certain way with 33 and 33, the Freemason number. As above, so below, control that number instead of the 777 books, right? That would give you the ideas that, hey, guess what? It wasn't Moses that split the Red Sea. It was his sister, Miriam, his older sister, that did it, who had the magic of power, but that would not do so well for the Israeli patriarchy at the time, right? And they didn't like that. So Moses was the political leader, but in history is written, it was changed this way. But all this stuff had to be hidden from us and controlled because they want to have it, right? It's just like when you look at the church, as I say, you get the church, you got the steeple, right?
Yeah.
that represents the
Phallus,
penis, right?
yeah.
The phallus, right? So, and inside the church is the people, right? That's the Lord's semen, and you're drinking the red blood, the blood.
Yeah.
So it's black magic. You're drinking the wine to represent the blood, while you're the semen and everything else
Yeah.
inside the big giant penis of the church, right?
Jeez, eh? Wow.
And it's right in plain sight. Meanwhile, so you got to look at what Catholic came when the empire came together in 325 there, and they went with Catholic. They wanted to include everybody, right? Where it was Catharian, where our belief in the Cathars had it was us, Jesus, God, right? That's it.
Yeah.
You know, but that doesn't work for the Roman Empire, right? They no. You got to have
Yeah.
church, and then we'll talk to God on your behalf. We have a better
Yeah,
deal than you
exactly.
do, right? And so they shut that down. That's where, and they hunted that down. That's a lot of where this all came
Yeah.
from. That's that expression of the divine feminine Christ and everything else, right? And
Wow.
that whole
I
side of
was listening
history.
to a bit of a podcast about that today, just while I was working, and it was from a book. I was talking about the Red Serpent and about Saint-Sulpice and what's the Chateau? Not Morneau. What is it? It's in France, where they often think maybe the Holy Grail was. And
Okay,
there's
yeah.
a lot of Chateau
Landonnac
Morneau, I think it's
region.
called. Yeah, and it was there was a book written about it, and he was reading a lot of the excerpts, and a lot of it had to do with that, the sacred feminine, and it was Isis, then it was this, and Mary Magdalene, and just what it represented, and how, the Grail was always in the feminine, and that
Well, that
power.
was the Grail, is the feminine, right?
Yeah.
And it's also in the feminine star Anunnaki fluid, which is the menstrual cycle, right?
Okay,
And so,
okay.
especially in virgin menstrual, the scarlet letter women and stuff, a lot of power in a virgin's menstrual sea, right?
Okay.
So they would use that. And that's why when Jehovah came and he was talking to Moishe, he was like, okay, no more blood ceremony, right? Like he was sick of the
Right.
blood stuff. Like we're not doing the blood thing anymore, right? So
Yeah.
that was just no more blood sacrifice, right?
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
when it changed. Krishna tried to do the same thing, you see, because like when he came at his time, right, he was trying to say like, why do we have to kill all these animals? Let's try to go to this, and then they almost killed him for it. But so he said, well, we'll do both this year, right? Trying to show both, but he was trying to get people forward thinking. But it's a lot of people that have come to this planet and saying like, we should get over like throwing people in volcanoes, right? Like, it worked for us way back in the day, but maybe we could.
Maybe we don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah, we can throw a couple chickpeas in and get the same result these days,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So let's just go with
or
that.
just
right?
just manifest it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, at the end of the day, but so a lot of that stuff is come from old stuff, and it was want to be dropped, but unfortunately, right, because of so many beliefs and you couldn't have that, so many people went into these secret societies, and they were great at first because we couldn't talk about stuff like this, guys. We'd be dead right now. All of us would be dead, right? Who knows? In a couple of years from now, the way it's going, it might happen too.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
we could still get swatted. I mean, Tim Pool's been swatted.
yeah, he's been
like 4 or
swatted. That was
5
crazy.
times
He
now.
got
Oh, really?
Yeah. He got
He just-
swatted 3 times in a row the other night. I saw that. That was unbelievable.
Oh yeah, he's fucking pissed right now.
Well, what happened exactly? What do you mean by swatted? Like SWAT team?
Yeah.
Well, somebody called fucking the police and said something ridiculous, right?
Oh,
caused the SWAT
right.
team to go in there and break up. And it's the
I
thing that they
gotcha.
do with some of the podcasters like him.
Okay,
Somebody will
yeah.
call in and say something absolutely ridiculous, something about weapons or something, and the SWAT team will just come in and raid the fucking podcast.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah, so it really it could get people killed though, right? It's a dangerous
Wow,
thing
yeah.
to do, and it's not. It should be like investigated on. I don't know. It's hard to do, but it's really every time you have something that's a bit more political or that. That's what you're going to see from the different sides, right? Because people are attacking. So I was saying before, where Spirit was showing me that group of A, which is the people that are kind of woken up to this and like holding energy and holding space from everybody. And we're not that big, man.
Yeah.
And then there's that B
trying to
group.
get the fire going.
That's the
Oh,
that's the darker psychopath group that I see there. And I mean, just straight up sickos, man. And that's like twice as big as our group. And then there's everybody else, right? They're in the range from, and all sides are vaxxed or not. It doesn't matter again, right?
Yeah.
But this energy that's coming is going to change that, right? Because there's so many of these people that will be reborn or whatever that karma is going to. Who am I to say, right? I got 2 balls, neither one of them are crystal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's it, right?
Yeah.
Because, so
guys,
Mhm.
I'm thinking we should take a heavy break
yeah, let's do it.
because guess what? Chris brought a beautiful guitar.
Yeah, let's
Another
do
one? Yeah, I did. I brought 2.
He brought
Yeah, I
he
went
brought
for
another
one, yeah.
beautiful guitar that he wants to show a little bit of rockabilly. Show us a little bit of rockabilly.
Okay. How do we go from that to Rockabilly? Well, I guess.
Well,
Yeah,
Let's
let's,
see,
do it. We were talking about that earlier. I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
let's do it. So
well,
we never know. We never plan what we're going to talk about, right? Because I
That's
feel
true.
I feel that's great. Like whenever you come and just talk and see what it's in that and
Yeah.
kind of go with that flow, right? So let's rock out a bit
Well,
because it
we'll holler
is
out.
still music.
Let's take a little bit of a break
Yeah,
here
man.
and get a little bit of some positive
Exactly.
vibes going through. You know, it's not that none of that is positive. It's all positive. It's all information that everybody needs. But we talked about some pretty heavy subjects.
Oh yeah.
So let's get a little bit of life force going back through everybody, because there might be some people at home going, "What the fuck did I just listen to?" So now, and I just
So now it's gonna get really weird.
I felt Chris's guitar over there calling to us. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just like,
yeah, I did too.
let's get her gone.
Whoo, my hands are cold. Gotta get them warm. Not like physically cold. They're just not warmed up.
Yeah, they're not warmed up.
So here's actually what I do to warm up my hands if I'm going to play a show. Like that. Go like this, palms together,
Oh, it looks like a Qigong exercise.
and then I do the back of my hands.
Oh.
And you massage your fingers. Get all the. I think this is a limp thing, you know. I get them going, and then let's see. Actually, Brian, actually, Todd, do you don't mind setting this in my case for a sec? Okay, so I got this going. Got my hands on my wrists. Then it's even better when you have sleeves on. You get your forearms warm because that gets the blood in there. And that's like my bare minimum. But I like to do a couple shoulder rolls. I'll even do
done any of that.
back stretches. Oh, so huge.
It's probably why my hands are always stiff when I'm playing.
Huge. So now, just literally that, I just physically warmed up my muscles, and now I can play. We'll see if this thing's in tune. Not bad, not bad. So this is a Brian Setzer Hot Rod. One of my favorite guitar players in the whole wide world. I don't do hero worship, but I sort of make an exception for him because he's awesome.
Everybody's got one.
Just guy's super cool and skilled and really good. He can play jazz and swing and rockabilly and all that, and does it all with just one guitar, the same amp he's played pretty much his whole life, and the same everything, you know. But yeah, so rockabilly is kind of cool. Rockabilly is you had country and you had blues, and you kind of put them together, you get rockabilly pretty much, you know. And country, but I mean, even country and blues, like they're all mixes too. Like, what is country? You got to start there. Well, really, it's from in the States is where they kind of say it started, but you had Irish, Scottish, French, German. In the States, everybody pretends like post-World War II, like there was no Germans in the States. We're like huge influence,
Oh
right?
yeah, you know, huge. Yeah.
The hot dog and hamburger, for fuck's sake.
Well,
Right?
well,
Like,
just in Petawawa
gun
alone,
culture.
right? The army
Yeah.
base there.
Yeah.
World War One, but it was a German. That's where they held German internment camp, right?
Oh yeah.
So then when all the town when they let them go, it's all German streets, all
Yeah.
names, everything else. Yeah. there's a
really,
bit-
eh?
yeah.
Jeez, I was born in Petawawa, so
yeah, I
that's
know a
like-
lot. That's
Yeah,
that's where they came from.
Wow.
Sorry to hear that.
Just kidding. Oh, yeah, I was bored there. So yeah, so this idea of like all these European folk styles and classical and folk music and stuff all kind of mixing together became country, right? That's why they call it a waltz, and even though people don't dance the waltz, it's a I was dancing with my darling night they were playing when an old friend I happened to see. That little run up to the third, so country, right? I don't think I had the lyrics right. And that's bluegrass, but even bluegrass is a modern term. People think, oh, bluegrass is old as the hills. No, it's not. They came up with that name. It was Bill Monroe, a mandolin player in I think the 50s, maybe 40s.
This reminds me, I restrung my mandolin.
Oh yeah, cool. I still got my mandolin. Yeah,
You didn't even know I had one, did you?
No. So you
One of
had
the
all
strings is all
those kind of mixtures, and then blues. Well, what's blues? Well, blues is a mixture of African singing and
Well, that's
Latin
it, right? So where do we
music,
get the real
right?
chassis of music, right?
Yeah.
So like when I was when still learning guitar, and
Yep.
I still take my lessons there on Wednesdays, but yeah, the chassis of rock and roll, like what is that, right? Is it that's that country blues and what else mixed in it?
Well,
Indigenous.
that's it.
It's
So blues is kind of an amalgam because it like really, if you get into blues, you're like, you mean Delta blues, you mean Chicago blues, you mean Piedmont blues,
yeah.
you
See,
mean like New
so
Orleans blues. But this particular New Orleans was big because it was such a melting pot. But you pretty much, after a point, you kind of had this thing that was kind of blues. It's sort of a sound, and country is kind of a sound. It's pretty recognizable, and really, you don't have to get that. It's like saying sweet and sour. If it's sour, you give it to a 6-year-old. They give a shit if it's a lime or a lemon. They're like, it's sour. It's like you just know. And so you had that kind of mix, and rockabilly was sort of mixing them together, right? Going across the tracks, if you will. And rock and roll was definitely birthed out of rockabilly sort of thing.
okay.
That's kind of generally, to me, I think it's a pretty good Cole's Notes version, of how it worked. So at the time, hollow body guitars and electricity, right? They were electrifying guitars and things like that. So I'm kind of come from the first guitar I had is an acoustic guitar. It was just, the guy built it so it could be loud and heard and this, and they were made with solid tops so they would project. And then guys started putting pickups on because you had these big bands, right? And suddenly you couldn't hear the rhythm guitar player. So they put on a big band and they put a pickup on it, right? So and then the guitar player could be heard. And Charlie Christian and Eddie Lang and these early players could do guitar solos, right? And so these kind of came that. They're like arch tops, but they're all made of laminates, right? Because it was cheaper and tougher. And then it doesn't need to be loud because it's got a pickup that does the volume for it. And so rockabilly came from these guys, Gene Vincent, the Blue Caps, and Eddie Cochran, and guys who played with Elvis. His guitar player was Luther Perkins Jr., I think, which is Carl Perkins' cousin, I'm pretty sure. Make sure I get that right. James Burton, all these guys. Anyways, and the idea was they figured out, and Richie Valens, my favorite. If you ever saw the movie about Richie Valens, there's a classic story. He has this little tube amp. I was going to bring mine tonight. I forgot to do it. I'll bring it next time. And it was a tiny one, right? And
I didn't know I was going to be angry at that, but I'm angry at that.
Oh, I'll bring it next time. It's an awesome one.
You got me going, and now you didn't bring it.
It's
now
a
I'm just like,
53
what?
Well, I can duplicate it with this.
You're
thing.
forgiven.
But what he would do is he'd have it. There's the famous scene. He goes to the play, and they'd have these big amps because they wanted the sound to be as clean as possible. They wanted to sound like a clean guitar. We wanted that sound. And so Richie was from the other side of the tracks. He was, kind of a poor Latino American guy, wicked guitar player though. And La Bamba, if you hear the original La Bamba, it's nothing like Richie Valens' version at all. It's like this totally different ball game. It's an old field song, right? So they'd have this clean guitar, right? And and the neck pickup was traditionally the right? Kind of fun stuff like that. And the whammy bar, that actually was to simulate the Hawaiian lap steel.
Okay.
Right? Because you could go wee, wee, wee.
That's
See, it was a good subject change. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
fuck you both for thinking it was
So the
gonna be weird.
guitar players wanted to
You're welcome.
emulate the slide, and that was the idea. They'd play 6 chords. So here's a major chord, but a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or maybe.
Started thinking Blue Hawaii Elvis with that.
Exactly. Interesting story. Where'd that come from,
I'm
right?
completely vibing.
All these American soldiers in Hawaii and the Polynesian Islands, right?
Oh, yeah.
Hearing that sort of sound, then all wanted to come back and came. That's how that hit Texas and all that. Anyways, yeah. So the Hawaiian sound, and then they put a bridge pickup because anyone who plays guitar, when I first teach a little kid, the first thing I do is like, Here, up here, it's all soft. And the further you go back, it's all sharp. So then you could, so I always say, oh, you want a jazz guitar? Jeez. Oh, my hands are cold. Wrong spot, sorry. You want a blues guitar? Right, so up here, soft. Back here. So then you put the pickup there. Now you've got that.
Yeah.
There's that. I'm going to tune my guitar while I talk. So,
Yeah.
so it's technology, right? You had American cars. I mean, it looks like a car, right? It's chrome and it's car paint and car parts and on the modern electronics and the tube amps and all this stuff. And so go back to like Richie and stuff with these tube amps. What these guys figured all of a sudden, oh yeah, it's way sharp, was that if you have a little amp, right, you can't be heard and the drummer's right loud. And all of a sudden drummers were hitting a lot harder. It wasn't all brushes and they had all this stuff going on, right? So these little amps, you turn them up and they're not clean. It distorts. But like, you know, when you're talking, if I'm talking to the mic too close, it kind of gets distorted. It sounds awful, right? They didn't want that. They wanted that clean crooner sound. Well,
Clean
but if
out.
you couldn't afford a big amp and your drummer gets a little excited,
Do you need a little bit more heat over there for your hands?
yeah, I'll be okay.
I can move the heater if you need it.
That's okay. So they crank their little guitar up instead of still out. So instead of getting I still got to set this thing up. You'd get this.
I can't stop.
And if you're getting kind of excited and you're a young guy and you're all horny, because if I play soft or with my thumb, so playing with a pick gives it a sharper and the idea of kind of crunching it out. So that's sort of the rockabilly meets rock and roll. The rockabilly tends to be a little more country influenced.
Yeah.
Rock and roll tended to be a little more blues, a little more, but it depended from song to song, right? I mean, you ask a rockabilly guy, and he'll say, "Oh yeah, you know, Jerry Lee Lewis, totally."
What about gospel in there too? Right?
Gospel was going on the whole time, but which gospel, right?
Yeah.
Is it the oh, you know, like they used to say it was like the thing, the backbeat, right?
Because I always thought Elvis always went back to gospel. I noticed whenever he had whenever he had a like, you saw it through the bad times of his life, right? Because he was playing all of that music, but then he'd go back to gospel. Does he do a gospel album and get out of his drugs and everything else?
He
and come
started.
back, right? Yeah.
I think was it him or Johnny Cash? I think Johnny Cash, who was considered rockabilly when he came out.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
People think he's country, but he actually auditioned with a bunch of gospel songs, and they didn't like it. So they did a blues song in Folsom Prison, and that's how that all came about.
Nice.
They're like, oh yeah, that's way better, right? So, but yeah, the gospel, the old saying was in the South, how do you tell if it was a white church or a black church? Because everybody's inside singing. Well, the white church would clap on the 1 and 3. The black church would clap on 2 and 4.
2 and 4, they're different beat, right? We're talking
And nowadays, everyone's like, yeah, but the black churches are so hip doing this blues and all this stuff. Well, the music was all different. And then you go, yeah, but what about Mahalia Jackson? Like, who?
Yeah.
Who was only one of the greatest gospel singers of all time, black, and she sang, but it's that, I call it grandma style.
Yeah, that's it's kind of church I grew up in, actually.
You know, so depending on the type of church you're at.
Yeah, no, in Toronto where I grew up, we had that. My mother sang in the choir, right? And I remember me and my brother, because it was a lot of black women in the choir, and all the bigger ladies with the big boobs, right? Me and my brother were always like laughing, right? We were there for cookies and stuff like that in the choir. But they could sing, man. It was just bring it out and they bring it up.
It's like the opera singers, But there were certain other churches too, and it didn't matter black or white. Like some of them would be more like today. Even the Pentecostal churches are really known for having, you know, great singers and a little more. I don't want to say primal or loose, but like now you kind of more gutsy, more modern, really, more the modern sound. So certain churches have the more modern
show
sound.
off.
Yeah. Oh man, show's warmed up. But I will be. But yeah, so that definitely gospel had a huge influence. But that was the whole thing, that American melting pot, right? Same with the music, the melting pot. So rockabilly, you had these kind of electric guitars, little amps cranked up. Then they started getting big amps, and delay and echo were getting, instead of, I didn't bring my delay, but I'll bring one next time. I'll do a proper rockabilly setup. Anyways, that became a big thing, the slapback echo, right?
What kind of delay you got?
Just I don't know, whatever. I don't give a shit. To me, I'm not brand. Even though this is like, oh, it's a proper rock.
Well, you're not so much of a gearhead, more.
I don't care. If it's a wrench and it works, I'll use it.
Yeah.
To me, that's what they are.
That's about what I do too.
I don't mind. Like, don't get me. I like them and stuff. I like nice guitars. I have a couple, but my main guitar is a pink Squire Strat that I put Fender tuners on and just plays amazing. I wouldn't trade that thing for the world. Like, if I had to go down to one guitar, it'd be that. So they're just hammers to me, and world's a nail. So you got your rockabilly. They would take like a G and a C and a D instead of a. There we go. So I might add a little Route 5, like. There we go. Pretty country, right? Right? But the rockabilly, they'd have a little swing, the guitar, like. And then you.
No guitar, no music tonight, Brian? No. Yeah, it's true.
But then they kind of rock it up a bit because they're all on speed
truth,
and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So then it'd be like.
Last time you were here, there were so many technical difficulties.
Yeah, I guess
so. I'm prepared for that this time.
And now it's smooth though tonight?
Well, tonight's smooth,
yeah.
but I just know that you bring a lot of like big positive energy and stuff like that.
Fair enough.
So
But also at the same time, though, how
then again,
smooth transmit, everybody's heard us all right?
Yeah, everybody's
didn't break
good to go.
down this time. Yeah, I was trying to make a video the other day, and whenever I see like say King stuff that I want to get out to people, I noticed lately in like on YouTube there seems to be like even videos I'm watching, all of a sudden they're speaking, you hear over it. I was wondering if there's some kind of like AI fucking with the system, right? Not in live feeds, but on uploads.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, because
I've seen that too.
Yeah, I've been seeing
like
that a lot lately. Yeah,
right?
I'm trying. What
really?
Yeah. What do you say? And then all of a sudden, because I was saying, okay, it's really important right now to point inside your, and it's like, I'm like,
I'm not lying. I'm not paying attention because
eh?
I'm not watching any of that stuff that they're censoring. Really, I'm just kind of working on myself and being like, you know what? There's enough people are going to send me everything that I need to know.
Yeah.
The world is still here.
Yeah.
So at my level, all I can do is be the best version of me.
Well, that's the point, right? It's not to go into.
Let's be Canadian about this.
Not go into their manifest destiny, right? That
You
they're trying to
can go fuck
manifest for
yourself.
you. Just manifest your own.
Yeah.
Right?
That's my approach.
You're just
to
as
music.
powerful as them,
I
right?
refuse to be a style. I refuse to be.
Yeah.
So I do rockabilly and all that. I kind of just play whatever.
I just like freaking
just be
music,
me,
man.
yeah.
It depends what
Yeah,
emotion I have too, right? Because it's like I have a guitar list at home that I like to practice with, but I could be within anything, right? So I could go from something that is more blues to all the way to hard five-finger death punch.
Sure.
And it's really that kind of mood. It's also when I cook, I like to listen to Italian opera. It's one of my secrets.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I don't know, because I like to cook Italian food because I think it's great. And Italian opera just gets me going, and those guys get belted out, right? When they're belting up and down, it's just like Pavarotti, man. It's like amazing, right? So, but it just depends on what mood it is. Cellos too. I've always had a thing for cellos and violins. Pretty
strings.
impressive.
That
The
old,
strings.
The other
I always think of this riff.
And the other reason too is I can't learn if I'm trying to play at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm wanting to learn the style and absorb it all at the same time. And if I'm trying to play it, I learned that when I was getting them to teach me Gypsy last week. Like I got it, but when I'm first learning something, I have to let it absorb.
Oh, I know. It's stages, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's really circular, right? Like it's just you got to keep repetition is the mother of all skill.
Exactly.
But yeah, visuals like 70%.
So I like to get the theory first.
Yeah.
The visual, the theory,
Sure.
and then I get then I work the practical the way it was.
Well, it's funny
Like
with
it's supposed to
music
be.
too. Rockabilly players when they invented rockabilly, there was no rockabilly. You know, the guys
You just started
invented
playing.
heavy metal. There was no such thing as heavy metal. You know, the first rock
That's
and
right,
rollers,
scary
there was
music.
no rock. Yeah, like so it's only later that we kind of came up with the name to describe it. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that rockabilly. They like that mixture of the blues instead of that kind
Yeah,
of.
that's that.
Well, slow down, almost level with the ground. Yeah, I'm tore down, almost level with the ground. Well, I feel like this when my baby can't be found. But rockabilly would kind of, they kind of get that little shuffle. I'm tore down, almost level with the ground, and that kind of silly singing. Yes, I'm tore down, almost level with the ground. A little bit of hee-haw with your blues. Well, I feel like this when my baby can't be found. Well, I went to the river, I jumped in. Baby showed up and said, I'm gonna tell you where.
I looked over and was like, what the fuck was that?
Almost level with the ground. Ooh. Well, I feel like this when my baby can't be found. You know, they kind of had the white boy twang to it. And that was
Once
the
again,
thing. It was
you're
these-
welcome for the subject change.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
but it's good, right?
Yeah,
Take a
yeah.
leak, I'll be back.
Yeah,
They'd
man.
have that little holler, and I always kind of feel that, like, kind of Irish cowboy sort of.
Well, it's in our blood, right? It's in our
Yeah.
DNA in that sense. We just start getting it. But what's that about, right? Guys coming together on Friday night playing some music,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah,
just,
loosen up.
that's it, right? Doing a podcast, sharing it with people around, and blessings to all
Yeah.
of you too, right? Like
Yeah.
just be sharing that spirit.
And I think the Irish tenor somehow shone its head through in rockabilly.
Yeah.
That's that, yee-hoo, that yeehaw.
Well, that is it's that,
Yeah.
that wild, free kind of spirit.
Yeah,
right? That's coming
yeah.
out. Because you know it's a tough. It's also it's that you know the general laborer's music too, right?
Yep.
He's working hard all week, man. He wants to come
Yep.
in and have that beer Friday night, play that guitar, sing his heart out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
exactly.
he grinds his ass 40, 60, 70 hours, depending on what you do, right?
Yep.
Like it
Yep.
really is.
Yeah.
And making that measly wage and everything else, all that stress on somebody's shoulders. And then there's no outlet, right? Because you're not chopping fucking wood anymore. Well, some people are. We are.
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But generally, most people, you know, they
Because
get
we
in their
want
condo,
to.
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So you know, to have that, especially some kind of organic music like that, where you just start picking up a beat and
Well,
everybody's going. And
And
it's
Delta
great,
blues, the Delta blues tends to be slower because, you know, it comes from a tradition in Mississippi, cotton fields, working hard. It's super fucking hot. You're tired as shit,
Right?
you know,
man.
and they just want to, you know, like,
What's the sound of the man working on the chain? Yeah, back in the day, right? That was their.
right. It was only when the guys moved to Chicago
Yeah.
and started driving cars, working in the city, the fast pace of the city, that it became. Right, that city
Chicago.
pace, yeah. So rockabilly had that. You had guys working on cars, driving motorcycles, you know, whatever. And it was youthful music. So yeah, and young people want to dance and hop and energy. So it had that fast beat.
Well, that
So,
was
yeah.
my mother, right? She was born, what, 1940, June 10th,
Okay.
1940, right? So she would always tell me, 56, 57 was her high school years, right?
right.
The rock and roll, and they just love
Oh,
it. Elvis,
yeah.
too, right? That was her big thing. So it was a big influence in my house. I think the earliest I ever sang, I remember as a recording, was like with the cassettes when you'd sing something. It was My Blue Suede Shoes, right?
Oh,
That
yeah,
song,
yeah.
one of the older ones.
Oh, that's well, you can step. How's it go? Jeez.
Oh, yeah. No,
I forget the words though. That's all. I haven't sang in like a year, like gigs in like a year.
Yeah,
So I
well,
forgot
that's
the
it,
lyrics
right?
to all the songs. Not that I ever really knew them, but well, don't you step on my blue suede shoes.
You can do anything with love my blue suede shoes.
Or you can slap my face. Oh, how's it go?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, see, that's it. I have to get the lyrics. Right?
Drink my liquor from an
Old
old
fruit
fruit jar. Do anything that you want to do. Lay off of my shoes and don't you
Step on my blue suede shoes. You doing a thing without my blue suede shoes. Blue suede shoes, baby. Blue suede shoes, baby. Blue suede shoes. Blue suede shoes. You can do anything without my blue suede shoes. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, like fast blues licks, right? Yeah, the rockabilly. But one thing I love that a lot of people forget, like some of the new guys, there's like new players, and everything's got to be like that. And that's their sound, and they want the greaser hair and everything. But one thing I love about Brian Setzer, he's like, yeah, but ladies, right? You're that whole. You know, because when it's time to sweet talk you, baby, you know? Yeah, right on that.
That's what I was thinking right there. Blue moon. Blue moon.
I saw you dancing
from afar. That's an old one, yeah. Yeah, but that was definitely up my mom's alley, all that kind of stuff from that age.
The crooners, right?
Yeah, that was that age. That
Cake,
brings me back. That
Ladders had all those songs.
Well, yeah, because I was thinking of her yesterday, my birthday. She's passed on, but at the same time, you know, we all got here through a woman, right? There's no other way to get to Earth. You got to come through a woman. That's how it works.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So. Well, we do, yeah, we do get shot out of the man, but we do come out of that woman, right? And that's it. So yesterday I was thankful for my mom, so it's kind of nice tonight to say those songs because I remember, grade 7 we at school we had like a 1950s thing going on at the time, right? A band, and I was so proud to take her as my kind of date in grade 7.
Oh yeah,
still like moms at that age, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was because it was about her high school years, right?
Yeah.
And my mom worked, you know, kind of hard jobs, 3 jobs kind of person, right? So I was able to take her out. But yeah, the Blue Moon, or what was the other one? You never close your eyes anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's all that age,
I always liked Stand By Me. That's kind of one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a classic though.
When
Stand By Me.
You two are kind of cute.
yeah. So now you got us in a whole different direction. We went from nuclear war all the way back to singing love songs here, right?
Well, I figured
this is
I
the
figured,
music.
Man, all matches. It's all connected.
Exactly.
And rockabilly is the music of the nuclear age.
I felt the
there you
energy
go.
needed to change. I'm just like, no, we got to do this.
Yeah.
One of the guys I liked, even though he wasn't rockabilly,
Like I said, the
kind of
guitar was talking to me.
I always liked
Nice.
that Las Vegas sound, like Louis Prima and all that, you know? Just a gigolo, and everywhere I go, people know the part I'm playing. Pay for every dance, selling each romance. Ooh, what are they saying? But there will come a day where youth will pass away. What will they say about me? Well, the end comes, I know. I was just a gigolo. Life goes on without me. 'Cause I ain't got nobody. Nobody cares for me. Nobody cares about old me. 'Cause I'm so sad and lonely. Sad and lonely, sad and lonely. I want some sweet mama. Come and take a chance with me. 'Cause I ain't so bad. You know, I love that stuff.
Well, that is.
So
That's
great.
the close.
So fun.
You guys ever see Bruce Willis do his gigs?
Oh, he's great. Harmonica player, right?
Well, that's it. He does that. But do you remember his really horrible he did a really bad video, I think. In
that
the
rings
80s
a bell. Yes,
And I was trying to show it to the kids. I couldn't find it the other day because I was
Checking the fire.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, all that. I love all that stuff. Well, it's funny too because as a kid growing up, like I was born in '76, so I really grew up in the '80s. You know.
Yeah, well,
and I remember being a little kid, like watching old. My impression, if I ever tell like little younger people when I tell my students, my impression of the '70s was brown and kind of a muted orange.
Right? That's fucking hilarious
it's
because
so
when I
true.
think 70s, that's
Right?
what, think
mustaches.
A&W.
Yeah,
And mustaches,
mustaches,
big giant mustaches,
brick
that's important.
buildings, you
Yeah,
know,
brick
lots of
buildings.
Big fucking
color.
permed hair.
Oh,
Yeah.
big lapels.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
junior kindergarten picture where I look like I was going to the 70s disco, right?
And floor model
It's like,
TVs,
yeah,
floor
it's like-
model TVs. TVs are on the floor,
Yeah,
right? And then, but then the 80s growing up. But what's interesting about the 80s was the throwback to the 50s.
yeah. See that's
Right.
what. So what's going on right now is my daughter's age group. And your
Okay,
daughter's
yeah.
Age group. They
Throwback
think
to the
the
90s.
90s. They think it's cool, right? I was
Yeah.
like, 90s wasn't that cool, man. I lived it, but I guess it was kind of cool.
Well, no, I think the 90s was actually like pretty cool, man.
well,
we had the
when was
best
the last
of
time
all
we
of
were
the other
free
generations
before
it.
2001?
It was
with
also- yeah.
9/11, right?
It's also the number 9.
Yeah, it is. It was. And,
So that-
And it was there was music going on. So like that would have been my heyday as a teenager.
well, yeah,
So
Nirvana,
hip hop and grunge broke.
grunge was
into
big
new
time
metal,
in the 90s,
And hip hop really came 80s it started, but it really came into its own in the 90s. That's when suddenly there was like all these different
Well,
genres.
that was
of hip-hop.
Tupac and
music
everybody
just
else.
fucking
Tupac,
exploded.
Snoop Dogg,
Real hip hop, yeah.
Wu-Tang Clan.
Not now. Well, you had me listen to somebody earlier when I came in here. That
Tom
was kinda-
McDonald.
Yeah, so
Oh,
piquing
yeah.
my interest.
And they're all still doing their thing. There's all kinds of them, but yeah, that was it. It was really kind of because it was the street music. It was the rebel music. That
Well,
was
that was
my
it.
jam. And
Well, I
metal
loved
was
it
still
too,
big, right?
But it was also like rap was about politics too,
Yeah.
and a lot
Public
of what
Enemy.
Public Enemy. I got a letter from the government the other day. I opened, I read it. It said there was suckers. They wanted me for the army or whatever,
Yeah.
and it was all that stuff. Picture
Yeah.
me giving a damn. I said never. Here's Atlanta.
That's when I first
All that
heard
stuff,
about,
right?
believe it or not, the Masons was through a band called, was it Brand Nubian? And these guys would talk about like, because they were, a lot of these guys, especially the New York guys, were from the Nation of Islam, but like the Black Nation of Islam.
Yeah, it
you know what I
was.
mean?
Yeah.
And now I go back and I'm like, man, what were they talking about? That was some interesting stuff. That's a lot of it's
Well,
come
it's
to
tied
fruition,
in, right? And what they don't understand is
Yeah.
they divided us on, and even that left and right, right?
Mm.
Because we actually have that same argument.
Sorry.
no,
Oh, I know, it's a cool look.
I can't stop
Yeah.
looking at that
The
fucking
poor
thing.
audience,
No,
they
keep going,
can't-
Todd.
they
Keep
can't
going.
Yeah,
check
I
her
know.
out.
but the left and right that they have that
Yeah.
part, right?
We can do under.
Argument.
I know how to talk underneath people and
Yeah,
have multiple
yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, that was, so the 90s had that sort of, or the 80s as a kid growing up, yeah, because you had Happy Days. And I grew up, my favorite movie was Stand By Me. So I had the cassette, but I also had all my mom's
Stand
records growing up.
Stand
So I just
by
listened
me.
to, as a little child, before I had tape decks and, 8-tracks were still around and stuff, but we didn't really have many of them.
We
It
had
was
the
records.
45s, right? The
Yeah,
little
oh,
small records.
I'd
yeah,
have
that-
45s and an ice cream bucket and my Mickey Mouse record player, and that
yeah,
went everywhere
yeah,
with
that's
me,
it,
man.
Yeah.
That was what I lived on. So, and then in the 80s, yeah, that whole 50s throwback, and 80s had its own music, of course. It had all kinds, and then 90s had its own, and yeah, I guess.
I'm trying to think too, right? Because it was different stages, right? Because honestly,
Yeah.
in about 2000 there, I got big into I went into the rave scene for a bit.
Oh yeah,
I came back from Bosnia and I was just like
yeah.
fucked with my head.
Yep.
And a bunch of kids across the street were like,
Bosnia would fuck with your head.
yeah, we're like 19 years old. They're like, "Did you want to come to a rave?" I'm like, "What the fuck's a rave, man?" They're like, hey, "Wait for it."
Yeah.
I was just like,
Yeah.
and then like, here's this purple elephant. I'm like, "What the fuck's purple? Whatever this at this
Yeah.
time, right?" I'm like,
Yeah.
don't worry, you'll figure it out, man. And I was like, holy fuck. And I experienced this rave thing. So I kind of went
Okay.
through a phase of DJs and falling around. And
Oh
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But then it was like, after that, I was like, okay, well, that was a neat experience. And so even my music kind of
Yeah.
went that way for a bit.
Yeah.
But there was an energy. I used to go to a festival that was really cool. It was an organic festival called Ohm Festival.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So what they do is they go up to Killaloo, it'd be community kitchen, everything. It'd be all music, free school, everything else. Very leftist ideas and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. But I really mean any young person that wasn't a leftist, you have no heart, right? Because the older you get, more
Yeah.
conservative you get, right?
Yeah.
When you're younger, you're just naturally more leftist, right? Because you want to have that ideas. And a lot of these ideas, that's why it's so easy to sell
We
them.
should say
It's 'cause-
liberal instead of leftist.
Yeah,
boys, it was-
liberal is
It was different though.
but
back
it's different,
then, eh?
yeah, because
more wholesome.
I used to be a liberal, right? So I really
Yeah.
hate to say that, the polls moved on me, and all of a sudden I became on the right, right?
Well,
Like,
that's
how
why-
that happened, right?
Well, that's
Like,
why I'm saying not leftist so much as
Yeah.
more like liberal, because liberals are still like that. They're just not as like fuck you, you're wrong, 100%. We're
well,
right.
a true liberal believes
They're
in
not
free
spoiled
speech,
brats.
right?
You can be. To me, a leftist is more like a spoiled little brat,
Petulant
and
children.
a liberal is like a just like free spirited.
Yeah.
Okay, it's possible.
Well, when you have what was it, Rage Against the Machine, right?
yeah, raging
Rage
for the
Against
machine,
the
now?
Machine, and now it's like, okay, the guitar player's a millionaire Marxist tenured professor at Harvard or something. You know, and it's like
Yeah,
it's
well,
kind of hard to take
You're
you
just not
seriously.
congruent. Yeah, with your
Is
there's
he
no
actually a
integrity.
Marxist professor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Fuck you, Tom Morello. I knew I hated you.
Yeah, no, they went and they are for the machine now. They rage
Yeah.
on behalf
I do
of
not
the
support
machine.
Tom
right?
Morello anymore.
So
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Sorry, and I'll call him out. I don't give
And that
a
was
flying
the
fuck.
whole idea of the rap, the rock and roll, even the rap, right? That's why they got rid of
What's he gonna do to
Biggie and Tupac, because
Yeah.
they wanted to turn the rap into like a dirty sex kind of,
Yeah.
instead of the political powering, because rap was giving
Yeah.
power to the people, and they can't have that, man. So
Oh,
kill
his-
those two guys
His
off.
poetry is beautiful.
And then
Gangster
now we got
rap,
rappers like
yeah.
Marshmallows and Little Nas dancing naked for the devil or something. It's
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
I'm
all
like,
that kind of stuff.
man, homeboys I hung out back in the day, they shoot motherfuckers for that shit.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That wasn't rap guys. They were rough dudes, right? Like
Yeah.
they were hardcore Jamaican dudes, man. You know,
But
fuck those
it
guys.
was weird too because hip like
They're
that was
fucking
that was
Rastas.
my music
Yeah,
growing
man.
up. I didn't play guitar growing up. I listened to rap. That was hip hop, and
Yeah.
I had it all.
I don't do fucking
East Coast,
hip-hop.
West
I
Coast,
listen to
Atlanta,
rap.
all of it. Right, loved it. I was obsessed with it. Thought it was great. My favorite rapper was always Ice-T, but you
Ice-T's
could
good
see
shit.
when gangster rap started really picking up, because you had the South Central guys, you had the Oakland scene,
Yeah.
you had the New York scene, and the Atlanta scene. I'm sure was always obviously was going, but it wasn't like you couldn't go buy records from those guys from Florida. Two Live Crew was the only kind of Florida band, but
too.
right? But they had that was the Miami bass music. You know, drug dealers could afford big subs, you know, and all the rich kind of rich people buying all the coke down in Miami. But yeah, you had gangster rap, and so it kind of came from these gang controlled areas, and then you know the rough inner city of the East Coast, and Philly and Chicago and stuff. But even that, it was originally the only stuff you could buy in the store was like it was L.A., New York. That was center of the universe. That was where the big spots and clubs were. But it started right before that. There was bands like Tribe Called Quest and
Oh yeah,
Queen
Tribe Called-
Latifah originally and all.
Well, yeah, when
these
she first came
guys.
out, MC Light, all that kind of
MC
stuff,
Light,
all that.
yeah.
But you got to go even back to like, because where I grew up in Toronto, guys would start beatboxing, and we were kind of doing, the old
Yeah.
Fat Boys,
classic.
right? The Fat
Yeah,
Boys.
Fat
back in
Boys.
the-
I
yeah.
loved them growing up as a kid.
Fat Boys, right?
Yeah,
And they would
yeah.
have that kind of challenges and stuff, right? Like my kids.
Maestro Fresh West. Hey. What
Yeah,
about-
Maestro Fresh West. He came in, and that was cool. That was Toronto. Let your backbone slide. Let us.
Yeah, that was the big one,
that was
man.
the big one. back
Somebody
in
was
the
like,
day.
"We have a Canadian rapper."
Yeah, we're all
but
proud
yeah.
of that, right?
But then there was right before the gangster rap took off, there was a major positivity. Like Public Enemy were kind of the angry guys, but for a while there, it was all about like it was cool to be smart, positive, and about community and getting away from drugs and any drug.
Well, that's why they killed those guys off.
And then
took
all
rap
it
in a
was like
different
let's
direction,
and then
right?
gangster
That's
rap
what happened, man.
took right off and they pumped it right
That's
up.
why you like Tom McDonald, because he's actually talked
Yeah.
about how rappers are talking about that,
Yeah.
like pushing drugs and.
But
Xanax
gangster
and
rap was
shit.
also interesting because it had that allure, right? And it was weird.
Well, it was right. Like when you
Yeah,
saw
Kid
NWA
Frost from the
cover,
Latino
it was
scene, yeah.
four hard brothers on the cover, man, with
Yeah.
baseball bats. Look like you're gonna fuck your day up, right?
And
It was
talking
like
about-
it was like
And making
They
money
got
and
attitude,
chicks.
motherfucker.
yeah. It was just they rolled up, right? That
Yeah,
was,
and they're making money and drugs and chicks and not doing drugs, being the drug dealers. Even those guys would talk about back
yeah,
then.
well, they would tell
They
you
didn't
don't
talk
do
about
your own
smoking.
product, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Don't do your
And
own
then
product.
Cypress
You
Hill
sell
came
that
out,
stuff,
and it was
yeah.
like, no,
Yeah.
smoke weed for sure. Smoke
Well, that was
weed.
all. Dr. Dre was really big on the weed, right? He was the first.
He
to push
came
that album.
after
2001, right?
Cypress Hill were the first real guys. Like people talked about
Well,
weed
let's
before.
be real here.
but
Pushing
they-
marijuana is not bad.
No, of
but
course
Cypress
not,
Hill
yeah.
was the band
Yeah.
that like
But I
got
think,
everybody
yeah,
smoking weed.
Cypress fucking Hill,
What
you know,
was it?
hits from
When
the
the-
ball.
Top of the morning to you, right? You know, that's
So Cypress Hill came out, and they were they're LA guys, Latino group, and kick-ass music, took everything by storm, and very different, right? Because it was sort of gangster rap.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was gangster rap, but then all of a sudden they were talking about weed.
Insane
was-
in the membrane.
Yeah,
Now I remember
that was
yeah,
the second album or third
Yeah,
album.
okay.
The first one would have
Cypress
been
Hill, yeah.
the first one was like oh shit, I'm trying to remember all the names, but it was like gangster rap for sure. Like it was oh geez, they'd sample like Ice Cube and stuff, and it was like
Well,
fuck.
Everlast too, because they came out first
So-
as rap.
so-
right?
Cypress
I am
Hill
a
came
big
out,
fan of Everlast.
and
Well, it was
Everlast
actually,
came out of the Cypress Hill. Their DJ Muggs was their
sorry, I'm
producer,
not snapping.
Yeah, no,
Thank
I
and
you.
think-
DJ
yeah.
Muggs
House of Pain,
hooked
House
up
of
the
Pain,
House
yeah.
of Pain.
not Everlast.
Everlast was an LA guy originally, but yeah, House
but
of Pain.
was it
came out
Everlast
Everlast
was in
first?
House of Pain.
No,
Okay.
Cy-
It was House
Cy-
of Pain. Then it went Everlast.
Everlast-
Everlast was
Same
out
guy though.
originally, but he was like a Vanilla Ice kind of looking guy.
Yeah.
And then and
Vanilla
the only
Ice,
other
yeah.
white band back then, well, there was Kid Rock, believe it or not, was back then too. But the original was third base.
Well, I used to know Darren Snow.
Okay, yeah,
I
from
grew up
Snow.
Snow.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up a couple of after
So
hour
that
bars.
was kind of a little after. But you would have had Cypress Hill came out, and then DJ Muggs produced House of Pain's first album. And then it was all of a sudden, and they were talking about weed too. So that's not
Yeah.
to get nitpicky, but that's sort
House
of the
of Pain,
chronology.
okay, top of the morning to you, right?
Top
I
of
was
the
going through
morning
that.
to you.
If you look at the lyrics in the song,
Jump.
it's all about the tribe of Dan and the tribe of Judah. and
Because
being in
he
Ireland
claimed to
and
be
that.
part of the Nation of Islam too. And he
Yes,
talked
yes,
about
it
the
all
33rd
goes back to the
degree.
tribes. That whole song is
Yeah.
written. That's an Illuminati.
Not listen to that again.
Yeah, it's I go back through it. It's all
Yeah.
secret messages in top of the morning to you.
All
all
Illuminati
about
stuff?
all about the tribe of Dan, right? The tribe
Okay.
of Dan is they come from they're the ones with the long hair. And the
Right.
reason why they have the long hair is they go back to Samson. But the Danites, the Serpent and stuff, and they're also what the Irish Catholics were, and they're Sinn Féin is the tribe of Dan, right? So the tribe of Judah is the Scottish, and that's the different tribes that happen.
And it was they kind of represented. Okay, this is all the white Boston guys who grew up listening to rap too.
Yeah,
but these were the first like kind of homegrown rapper guys. Yeah, it was interesting. But it was neat when that came around because it kind of did cross a lot of barriers. After that band came out, then it was like, okay, we can finally admit that everybody's listening to hip hop.
Yeah, well,
You know,
that
you
was
can
it.
turn it
Well,
up
there
in
was a
your
big
car.
switch, right? Because we had the LA riots, the Rodney King, and all that kind of stuff.
That's when I
And people
burned all
don't
my
understand what
lyrics.
it was and how it was just that long
Yeah.
ago, how tense everything really was.
Yeah.
And now with some wisdom, I look back, I go, holy shit, that shit was crazy, right? Like when
Yeah.
you think about it. And
Yeah.
so we've been there before. So there is a lot of growth if you look from the time that's coming to,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, that's what I keep. Especially when they bring all the racism up now. Like, honestly, how many racist people do you really know?
I never really meet many, you know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Like, but
but at
apparently
the same
everybody's
time,
fucking
there
racist.
is But there is
But there is
certain
racism.
things that have been racist in being this way that have been beaten into people, right? But again,
I
it's
agree.
that, it's that
100%.
sense. There's a sense of identity, right? There's a sense of things that have, and this is where it's where do you heal from this, right? Where do
Yeah.
you go from this, right? And this is what I tell to people: it's not about associating fault, but rather responsibility. So people ask me,
That's
well,
a
is
good
it
way to
my
put
is
that.
it my fault for slavery? I said, no, it's not your fault, but it's definitely your responsibility. And what do you mean by that? I said, well, you see, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So if I see the whole
Stand.
world as my responsibility, then I would act on it. So let's take this a different way right now. Are the homeless people downtown in Fredericton your fault? Your fault or your fault right now? No, right? They're not your fault, guys. Are they your responsibility? And look at that word. We mixed it up. We make responsibility seem fault, but it doesn't. Responsibility is your ability to respond. So
Right.
you could respond to them. And you can respond in many ways. You could respond by giving somebody money, donating to this thing, just giving a blessing and everything else, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I say to you, slavery is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. How are we going to respond to this? Residential schools is not your fault, but it is our responsibility. How are we going to respond to so how do
Right.
we respond to this, right? So we have to start owning responsibility. We can't say, like, if I'm sitting there and you start choking right now, I'm like, oh, it's not my responsibility, right? Like,
yeah.
no, I could try my best to help you or maybe just call 911, but I have an
Yeah.
ability to respond.
And
It's
then
not my fault you're choking,
Right.
and it's not my fault these things happen through my ancestors, but it is my responsibility. So the whole
Right.
world, if I see the whole world as my responsibility, with that will come great power, because that's my power in human. If I stop saying, oh, this doesn't belong to me, this doesn't belong to me, that doesn't belong to me, well, then you've cut off all your power.
Yeah.
So see yourself as, it's not your fault, but you're responsible for all of it, because all of it is you.
Because you have the ability
You
to
have the
respond.
ability to respond, right? Not your fault, but you respond. Ability to respond.
I'm going to
Yeah.
reverse every word that I hear now because of you.
Well, no,
It's built right in. It's crazy when
Because
you
when you hear the
think
word
about it.
responsibility, it almost feels like you have to do it. But when you realize that you just have the ability to respond, it's just like, oh, well, I can do that.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just sending a prayer. It's all you have. That's all you can do, right? Like it's just, but just don't ignore it, right? So it's not your fault these things happen. So don't feel guilty because that doesn't serve you, right?
Let it
How
go,
does that serve
man.
you, right? Like it's instead feel responsible. Okay, how do I respond to this in the best way that I can?
Let
Not
that
everybody's
shit
going to
go.
respond. Let that shit go and respond, right? Take your power back by owning responsibility to everything. I say everything. Yes, you're responsible for everything that's ever happened in the past to the future, right? Because we have an ability to respond to the climate environment problems that we've had.
Right.
Not saying climate change, but the actual poisoning and the things. We have a responsibility. It's not our fault that the rivers are fucking poisoned.
Yeah, you know
But it's
what?
our responsibility to fix it.
And that's interesting because all you hear these days is climate change, climate change, climate change, climate change. What the fuck happened to pollution?
Yeah, well, pollution's the big one,
Right?
right?
That's the one that gets me.
Well, that's what I'm more concerned with. The
that's my
top 2
concern.
inches of ground soil around the earth is scary.
Yeah.
Right? This is what people
I
don't.
can't drink out of the river.
Everybody's
anymore.
worried about the fucking carbon tax and how much we're breathing the carbon, but dude, we can't drink out of the rivers that we used to be able to drink around here, right?
Yeah.
You know, we used to be able to just go take a cup out of the river, drink. Why can't we? Right?
Yeah.
Why aren't we fixing that? That seems key, right? Water is key. You're 75%
Yeah.
or more water, depending on whatever you read.
Yeah.
So water is key. Why aren't we taking care of our waterways? Why aren't we taking care of the poisons and things
Yeah.
like that? So it's again, we attach ourselves because we're too afraid to face anything that's actually simple or easy to do that takes work. So it's easier to get a big concept and like, let's fight climate change and we'll tax this. And it feels like you're doing something. You don't fucking accomplish anything, but it feels like you're doing something. So you feel good in your little feel good fucking bubble, but you're not being responsible. Right? Yeah, you're not being responsible.
Dopamine or serotonin.
And
Right?
somebody makes a
Responsible
bunch
is
of
what you
money
can do.
off
Yes, and so what you can do locally. What can you clean up locally? How can you
Yeah.
garden, reduce your footprint by growing your own vegetables? How you eat, how you connect to your
Yeah.
food, how you change your light system, all that kind of stuff. Take back your responsibility, your ability to respond to climate change is not your fault. They're trying to make you feel guilty about it, like you're a dirty little fucking filthy animal using all this carbon. Don't feel guilty. But feel responsible, right? Because fault associates guilt. Don't associate guilt because guilt doesn't give you power, right? Responsibility gives you power, strength, and responsibility.
I'm actually really excited about this spring.
Yeah.
I was dogging it and I finally got my seeds. I got a bunch. I still got more to get. Oh yeah. I was making all the plans, but I hadn't bought the seeds, right?
Yeah, well, you start. I something I learned here since I've been in New Brunswick because it takes a little bit longer. But yeah, I'll start seeding at the end of this month, really, at the end of March, right? Because that's it, and I'll have them ready to kind of transport plant
It
outside.
happens so fast.
Yeah, and make sure things like tomato plants, right? You don't want to plant them all at once, right? Otherwise, and that's something I learned, right? Like you want to stagger how you plant things so that they grow at different times. Otherwise, you have like 500 fucking tomatoes ready to eat at once, right?
Not only that is the reality that you can't just certain seeds you can throw them in early. They won't do anything.
Yeah, that's
right.
It too.
Like I didn't know until recently. Like your greens are no good in the middle of summer. They don't like it hot.
No, they don't.
They'll just bolt and go to shit. You plant them in spring, and there's some greens. Some of them will handle the heat. But I'm ready for my early stuff. Radishes, springs, lots of greens, kale.
Kale's really like superfoods, right? Like what we could have is that what you could survive off of. But at the same time, I really, even with the trucker strikes and everything else, like we've had a pretty good source of food still. So they've been keeping things pretty running. I've been pretty happy with that. But yeah, no, it's just that going back to responsibility. What can we do to really help with our issues with climate, right? No, it's fine. Man.
And your quality, a lot of it
That's
comes
a
down to
fucking
even if you get rid of all that, if you're like, you know what, somebody says, I'm a selfish bastard. I don't give a shit about the world. Fuck the world. Everything's all about me. I'm like, okay, great. You're eating shit food. I thought it was all about you. Aren't you selfish? You're not that selfish. Oh, you're gonna go. Oh, but you're gonna go eat crap at McDonald's. I'm sorry, man. I thought you were selfish. You're just leaving all the good food for someone else. You're eating cheap crap. I thought you were high class. You deserve the best. Oh, I thought you were Miami. Turns out you're not. You're you're the dirty side of Miami. How come you're not eating the primo, organic, biodynamic, top shelf?
Well, it's also laziness.
Or are you going to smoke dirt weed? Or are you going to?
Laziness is a big part of it, right? 'Cause it's very what's convenient. And that's
Yep.
it, because I really had a hard time converting my family members and people around me to eat healthier.
Convenience is
Generally.
crazy.
Well, that's it. And I'll see they'll have it, right? Like, and I try not to hide anything from kids on that side or anything
Yep.
else, but they'll be like, but I try to set the example that hopefully one day they'll see it.
Yeah.
We did the planting and stuff, and they could see it eating. But I find that the kids generally are eating lighter too. A lot of chicken and
Yeah.
fish and stuff like that. They don't like the heavier foods or anything
Mm.
else. But that's one of the, we were talking about this. So this is about this gardening thing, right?
Yeah.
So schooling, I was having this talk with a few other friends, and we were saying, from 1 to 12, when they go to school, kids should be learning things like gardening and everything else. And really from 13 to 18, you can learn all the math, the history, and everything
Yep.
else when you're older that fast, right?
Yeah.
You can learn
And-
simple math to go along
Yeah,
with
like-
gardening and shit because you have to, right?
Yeah, of course.
Well,
count
yeah,
how many
but-
seeds you got to plant.
Yeah, part of gardening. Yeah, what's your
Yeah.
square footage?
Or-
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. That
But do
sort
you
of
need
stuff.
trigonometry? At that
Yeah, you don't
age?
need that
Oh,
stuff. So
really,
you can really
huh?
slow down. like-
Trigonometry is one of those things you need
lot of-
specifically for what you're doing.
A lot of
Yeah.
I think the school system is going to be reimagined, because once we find out that how broken everything is, and people
Yeah.
start taking their kids out of school, and we've already been talking to our friends of like, okay, we'll set up our own schooling pods and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So-
something I'd like to see a little
Well,
more.
yeah. So it's a
traction
little
on.
bit more local and everything else, and going in, and it's like, so we've been talking about what do we want in syllabus, right? Like, because what the system we have now is ring a bell, go out here, ring a bell. It's working for the industry. Factory work and that, but we need something that's more competitive and
Yeah.
everything else, but not just stuff in your kid's mind. The gardening skills, these sort of skills,
Yeah.
math and money skills, right? Healing skills, singing skills, musical skills,
Artistic.
things
Yeah.
like this, artistic skills, and you develop it up, because really,
Creative.
I thought from grade 1 to and you need to learn basic math, but basically grade
Yeah.
1 to grade 12 math, I could teach a 16-year-old that in probably a year.
Well, the thing
You
with
know what I
kids
mean?
too is
Yeah.
the
It's
way
When
not-
his mind's ready for it, right?
It's
'Cause
not actually that hard.
and the way you teach kids, they only have so much attention span. So
And they're confusing
you
them
know,
now by showing them
you can
longer
do
ways to do
you
it.
can do a half-hour math or an hour math, and you can do this, you can do that. But the thing is, there should, and same thing. You need an hour of garden class.
Yeah, there's
You need an hour of
but it's good.
maintaining
We got to get
maintaining
that everybody in.
lawns and your cut flowers. Not there's like you could have a class that's not, like, even garden class is not enough to me. It's like, well, you have math and you have science when you're little, but by the time they're in grade 3 or 4, you kind of start having different they realize, oh, there's different kinds of science. Well, there should be like a half-hour class of let's do food, but here's a half-hour class of like trees and flowers. Like, what about plants you
herbs,
don't?
medicines,
Or
these
even
sort of
ones you
things?
don't eat? Because, like, for example, some of those kids are like, you know what, Mom, I just don't give it. I don't care about the lettuce, and flowers are stupid. I'm a boy. Pine trees are awesome. And that kid's gonna be a silviculturist. He'll be the kind of kid who's gonna plant 300-year-old trees.
Yeah, no,
But yet
that's
some
it.
other kids like, trees are stupid. I like lettuce. I like eating food. Well, great. You're the one who's going to supply our. But you know what I mean? Almost like that idea of give them a chance to develop the aptitude of it, right?
Especially in the
Really
earlier
go for
ages, right? Because we really streamline it. And also when I lived in Germany too, I like some of their system.
We don't really teach enough about plants.
Yeah, because I like their system when they were about 14. And it's not perfect either, but some kids went to the university stream, and then the other kids went to the trade
Apprentice,
stream,
yeah.
and everything else, and the apprentices.
And they're
stuff, right?
still top
Of
shelf
course,
producers,
right? Because
right?
you get master plumber over there. He's
Yeah.
making 6 figures back. I remember there in early 2005, and he's got the suit because he's a master. And
My buddy's a master baker, and
Yeah,
his
so-
bread is exceptional.
actually, that was one guy. What's his name? This guy was fucking cool, man. His name was Florian,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he was the brewer.
Okay.
And so I said, "So when did you start learning to brew?" He said, "Well, 15 in high school. I started I'm
Wow.
like, you've been making beer since you're 15." I'm like, "Oh, I hate my guidance counselor right now."
yeah, I
Right?
know.
'Cause he
eh?
was but every town in Germany has their own brew. Like before we had the
Yeah.
microbreweries here,
Yeah.
and that's the one thing before they had human rights in the free world, Germany had beer rights and beer law.
Yeah. The
I
beer
think it
law.
was 1292 or 1219 or something like that. But
yeah.
like longer than humans have had rights, beer has had rights in Germany, right?
Yeah.
So
purity law.
yeah, the purity laws in Germany for their beer. It's funny. It's like,
Now-
don't fuck with the beer, man.
let's
So it's
let's
like-
take a little aside, a little there, because now we're down that road. We're like, oh, the purity law, but there's a little mouse hole. Let's go check this out. So some say the purity laws were to get rid of all the medicinal beer.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure there was.
Which is an
Oh.
interesting one because it was.
Let me put my hat back on.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. And that's a neat subject, man.
Well,
Because
that's it.
traditionally
They've
the
never
women
liked
made the beer.
psychedelics, right? And especially the
Yeah.
wormwood. Going back to the wormwood, right?
Oh,
yeah.
now we're
well,
circling
go back
all the way
to
back.
back to
Oh,
Chernobyl, the wormwood, the church,
the fuck?
the purity
Here we are.
laws, the Germans.
God
yeah,
damn, you're good.
yeah, it brings it back. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, interesting because that's a neat way of that. Because alcohol and tinctures is a good way to get the goods out of a lot of plants plants you might not necessarily want to consume.
no. Well, sometimes you want to
Right?
be with plants, right? That's what the elders have been teaching me. So, for
Yeah.
instance, I've been hanging out a lot with the white pine lately. So I want to
Okay.
learn its medicine. So I've taken branches with it. I've made teas out of it. I've sat with it. You know,
Yeah.
I put a little bit even when I've smoked it just to sit
Yeah.
there. I've sat there and I've held it because I'm trying to understand the plant medicine itself because it has a whole level of energy and everything else. So in the white pine needles, for instance, just a little bunch chopped up made tea, you get more vitamin C than 10 lemons.
Yeah.
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 So, you know, so for just natural herbs and stuff.
I
and
used that
all
to
this
help
stuff.
me heal when I got sick this summer.
Well, this is what I was going with the
Yeah.
beginning, right? So that's what the creator gave to the red people was guardianship of the earth, to learn the
Right,
herbs
right.
and everything else, right? And the yellow people was all the
Cool.
breathing, the yoga, and the stars, and
Yeah.
the astrology and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the water, and to us the fire, right? And a lot of things, the electricity that's coming through here is really a type of fire, right? That was
Yeah.
created. So everything that's explosive, combustion engines, all that kind of stuff, all that is fire, and that was created through all the way up again to the
Because we
nuclear
had to
fire.
stay warm in the
Right,
fucking
the
winter.
Silicon
Well, yeah,
Valley.
because we were set north, so here's fire, right?
Now it's the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, you get fired because you go north to live in the fucking North Caves, right?
Yeah.
So that's how it went. And
God
but-
said, "Here's fire."
yeah, but at the end, knowing that we would consume it, right? So what's happening right now is that, and this was part of the Hopi prophecy because they said when the armored turtles will show up on our land,
Oh wow.
and that's when the conquistadors started showing up, right? Because right then, what happened? White people have been consuming the earth because, like fire, right? They've been moving around and they've gone all around the world, but they've actually, that was the purpose, to bring us all back together again. So now we can
Interesting.
share everything and bring back and learn those lessons, right? Because Crazy Horse said we'll all dance under the tree together
Right.
at the end here once the stones come back together. So that's all coming, right? In a positive way. But I think we said this last time I was here too. I might have said it was that it's the one thing we lack in the West. One of the biggest spirits of the Christ is patience, right?
Yeah.
It's the antidote for anger and wrath is calling the spirit of the Christ of light of patience, right? So we
Yeah.
call him patience. We don't have that. We want it we're like, what's going? We might not see it in our lives, guys. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, but blessed is he who plants the seed for the tree that others sit under in the future, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that's an important thing. Yeah, man.
I had a
Beautifully spoken too.
Neat, I had
by
a
the
neat
way.
way.
Thank
I
you
was-
for
used to
sharing.
tell the kids when they want to learn to play fast and tread and stuff. It's like you can't. You can't. You can practice all you want and you can try and play fast. You'll never get it. Now, the minute you slow down and you let yourself play fast, you'll just get it for free. You don't have to try to play fast. Just play real slow.
It's aligning
take
to
your
that frequency,
time,
right?
yeah.
You're aligning to a flow, aligning
Your
to a
hands will
frequency.
do it all for free. You don't even have to try. Just be patient and you'll be really fast.
Egoless, right? Same thing, and that's the approach. That's why I found music so amazing in my healing journey in the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so been, I've had to lose my ego so many times because I was like that. Yeah, I want to shred, right?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work.
It's like,
Right?
nope,
Yeah, it's-
Take
all
your
right,
time
so
and
just
have
take your
fun with
time.
it. Let
And
it
that
be.
was my coach. It was
Let
always
it
slowing
be.
down and slowing
Let
down.
it be.
You
Let it be. Let it be.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Speak
that's it.
those words of wisdom.
Let her be.
Let her be.
Yeah. Fucking let her be now, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, music's an interesting one. It's a fun puzzle. It's a puzzle that constantly remakes itself.
Well, that's the second age.
It's a
is what I
quantum
was saying,
puzzle.
right? So from the
Mm.
void, and the second age is music and energy, sound and energy.
Right.
Sound and energy became minerals and elements, and those elements became the plants, and those plants became the reptiles and the dinosaurs, who became the
Right.
age of the animals. And now, because we're ending soon, anyways, right? I figure, but as we come into the final age, here's the age of the
Yeah.
human being, where you get your powers, right? Nobody's coming
Mm.
back for you to save your dumbass. Right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
time for you to go within and find that power, that connection, the big I am. Who are you, right? And you're
Yeah.
connected to all of it. And music is one of the best ways to connect to this because it's egoless. Because you got to, you don't have to fucking do anything to connect to something, man. Like everybody's like, I got to do this and I'm going to get closer to God. I'm going to do this. I'm going to fast. Fuck off, man. Just do your thing. Live your life. Play your guitar. Let the music flow. Let everything go and connect.
Let it be.
Let it be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? Like,
Yeah.
who the fuck are you that you think you could do all that, right? Like, just be a dude and be a dude, or be a dudette. Play a guitar, have some fun, right? Like, relax, right? And go with that flow of
instead
things
of
in
chasing
life.
the carrot.
Yeah,
what?
just let it go. This is it. This is life right here. This is what life is. You are
Yeah.
life. You are life. You are living. This is life. Enjoy it. Live
Well,
it.
that's the thing, folks who do travel.
Yeah,
And those who
you're here.
chase fame and fortune and power, in the end, it always was the thrill of the chase is what you're after.
Oh
anyways.
yeah, it's all of it, right?
Right.
And enjoy those parts.
That's why it's
too,
never
right?
enough, right?
Live it. It's not because that's it's never enough because this is why, because you are all and you want to be everything and you haven't realized that you are all, so you
Yeah.
try to become everything until you realize that you're all, and then you stop trying to become everything, and then you're just all.
Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
then you just are as it is, right? But right now, because you're ever expansive, because if right now I said, okay, you know what, I'll make you the king of Canada. And you're like, cool, man, that's cool. But then eventually it won't be enough. You'll be empty because you are all, because it's in your spiritual nature to be all. So in the phenomenal plane of three-dimensional reality, you can never have enough if you're looking outside of yourself, because you could try to have everything, but everything can never be all. So if you realize by going within that you're really all, because infinity works both ways. If we look out, that's infinite. But if I close my eyes and I look within, it's also infinite, right?
Yeah.
That's your power. So
I always find
that's
whenever
it.
I close my eyes and meditate, or like when I did the Reiki session, whenever I close my eyes, that's what I see is like a universe.
Yeah.
I see galaxies and stars. It's
But
like
even
a
those
purple
galaxies
sheet,
and stars,
you know?
what are they in?
What
They're
are
in a
they
big
in?
void, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. What
Yeah.
came first? This big void that we can't even. That's why they say Shiva, the no thing. It's a no thing. It's we don't know what that is. I mean, like it's a void, right?
Okay.
And then there's that light, that matter that comes through, that first sound, that first energy.
Right.
It was the first age, because from the void and that light starts dancing, right? That's what we would refer to as the Adi Shakti, or the primal mother, the Holy Spirit, which is feminine, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why we say the Galactic Federation and all this kind of stuff is so interested in Earth right now is because the child of that is what appeared as Yeshua HaMashiach 2,000 years ago to bring in the age of the Christos, which is where you're going to have your crystalline powers to kind of heal the Earth, was the idea. He's from just pure mother, right? That came down as a holy thing, and that was the whole divine feminine Christ that goes back, right? All these that's every time it comes down from that pure mother energy, right? Because the physical father, he was never he's of the father, but he's of the mother, because the father is the void, it's the emptiness, it's the potential of nothing until that energy forms, and that's matter, and matter means mother. It's the same word, right? Yeah. Matter is the mother.
Yeah.
And that's it. So everything in this physicality of the phenomenal plane is of the mother, not of the father. The father is the void that holds it all, because it's pretty impressive, all these fucking stars and spaces and galaxies, but what are they all in?
Yeah.
Who's that dude?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying, right? So where does that go, right? So that's the void, the first stage, right? So the mother is all that energy.
The dark matter, if you will, or whatever,
Yeah, well, that's it, right? So it gets bigger than that. You can't wrap your head around it. So you have to let go and then just go within yourself. And but that's that power that you're connected to in your heart. And that's what this age is. The next age is that we're not going to live in our senses of our five senses of the animals anymore. We're just trying to feed and always please ourselves. But instead be able to raise our consciousness and live in the age of our heart, right? Which is the age of the heart journey of the whole planet, where we'll finally realize that it's not our fault, but it's our responsibility, and we'll come together in our own recognized divinity in one another and heal this place, right? It's hard to see. It's hard to see.
We have no choice. We have to now.
We have no choice. We fall on our faces. But what else you guys got to do, right? So let's just keep going, right?
That's why we came here in the first place.
Yeah, that's
it's
why we're here.
interesting to think that it could happen in our lives. That's
a
trip, right?
It's happening now. What are you talking about? We are the beginning of it.
Well,
yeah, but you know what I mean? The idea that, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's it, because it's very hard for us to manifest to see, do we see this coming, right? But that doesn't matter, because that's not up to us, right? Because it's already ordained.
Yeah.
It really is. All options are on the table. Your only thing is you didn't make the sun rise, right? It happened. It's going to hopefully it comes up tomorrow, right? All you could do is align to that, align to the frequency of something that's so big that the whole galaxy is held in this dark matter of whatever that is.
Yeah.
The first age, right? You see what I mean? So big. So all of this, and you're just a little speck on this little planet that goes up that's so conscious and everything else that when we're born, you came out and you looked around, you think your mom made this, your dad made this.
Yeah.
Like, why is this here, right? And that's one of this that we lost in the last age of the animals, because we're in our five senses. But as we move into the age of the Aquarius, the sixth age is the age of our heart. And so we'll move into a different frequency. And that's where the heal is, because it becomes the responsibility. Because as age of animals, we live in our senses and ego, and it's all about assigning fault to everybody else. It's not ourselves. The age of Aquarius is about realizing our own divinity, our own connection to that source inside us, and rising up, that we accept responsibility for all things, and then together we get healed, right? That's where it comes together. So yeah, that's what we're stepping into.
It's fucking exciting.
And but you know, just walk it, man, and don't try to see it. Try to serve it. Try to be service, the light, the smile that heals the room.
Yeah.
Everything that you can do, you walk in the compassion, you bring that frequency around. One little candle in the basement lights the whole place, right?
Yeah.
And that's
true.
it. And that's it. So it doesn't have to. So as I said, there's few of us people here on the planet. As I said, that group of light, but there doesn't have to be many of us, right?
Yeah.
Because we just have to shine our light. It lights the whole basement.
I have
One
fun
light,
with that.
you know, that it's
At the gym
much
I
more
work at, I
powerful.
have fun with that. I just consciously make sure I'm just always smiling. If I'm
Yeah,
cold,
send your love out there,
and
right? That's what we're here to do.
everybody smiles back.
Serve this age, serve the awakening.
I'm the only one that walks up and down this road and waves at every car when I'm walking my dog.
Yeah.
That's
And
it.
we all wave back. We all love it, kind of. We're like,
You know,
yeah.
everybody's
But I
always
see everybody, they're all like, and I wave, and they're like,
people get scared of the devil because he owns MSM and all the big stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I've always noticed the Creator works through smiles and the small little things that we do and the small acts of kindness that are so much more powerful than MSM any day of the week, right? And but because we don't see it, it's not blaring at you, right? It's that different. So I trust in that. I trust in the sun came up. I trust the moon's working. Gravity seems to be doing all right. So I know I'm not in charge of any of this, and I don't think you guys are. If you are, that's pretty cool. But you know what I mean. But
it's all
generally,
been a scam.
But but whoever's doing that seems to be it's good. So I should align to that like a Jedi. Almost.
I don't want
align to the Force. You know what I mean?
I don't want to like control it, but I like to learn how to use it.
Yeah, so you move with
So
the
that I can
Force, right?
fly
You
and
flow
shit.
with the
That'd be
Force,
neat.
and you can learn to tap into that. And this is the new age where you're going to learn to tap into these powers, right? Especially again, because I don't know, like maybe I'll fly, maybe not, maybe your grandchildren will, but that's it. Because we plant the seeds now for those that are going to sit under those trees that we may not sit under, but that's a great thing to do, right? Is it not?
Yeah.
And they could look back and hey, look at those three assholes on the podcast back there talking about this shit, right?
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic for me just to see that.
that'd
Even
be
though I
neat.
never see it, that would make me feel good in my heart of hearts, right?
It's out there now, man. So
Manifesting, right? Because the Pluto return came on the 19th of February. A lot of good energy happened there, but we won't see the manifestation, the phenomenal plane of good things of what happened in Ottawa until about the 22nd of April. And then it's going to start manifesting. You're going to start seeing the good because it's not your cell phone, right? It's going to take a bit.
they've still got to bring the truckers to Washington, D.C., right?
Oh yeah, all this stuff is going to unmanifest,
So-
but it's not even with what's controlled or whatever is a plan or whatever else. But just all the good that we've done here will manifest and unfold in the months to come, and you're going to see it open up over the summer and everything else, right? And we could say any of us, myself included, and I thought I was pretty awake before 2020 fucking happened, right?
Yeah.
But since 2020, my awakeness has grown exponentially, right?
guess,
Where I've had to it's like, okay, where, you know, it's really important, I got to say again, is to do some kind of routine for whatever that is for you, yoga, martial arts, Qigong, all that kind of stuff. Because
All of the
you
above.
need a stable platform to handle it because it's like fucking some weird shit, right?
Yeah.
And it could really hurt you if you're not in that mental state to absorb that kind of truth, right? So it's just better not to deal with it.
That's kind of a concern I have for, I call them the normies, you know? It's like,
me too.
you know?
And that's why I said I get sad and angry over it, right?
I'm
It tears
concerned
me
with
apart.
them, but it's more like okay. On the other hand, it's going to be interesting to see
Spirit tells me it's their karma, right?
how will they
So-
deal
It
with it.
is.
Some will probably deal
I was
with it
explaining that to my
amazingly
therapist the other
well.
day.
Some will it'll be interesting to see how some folks will probably just be like, oh, and they'll just, Because we all know people
They'll
like
flip
that.
the
Oh,
switch
yeah.
over.
Well,
They
I
just
can't-
kind of do that. They're
I
like
can't wait till
cats.
my friends come up to me. They go, "Hey, Todd, have you heard about this? Like everything's messed up." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "What happened?" He goes, "Well, I was watching CTV last night. It was finally on, and
Yeah,
now I finally saw it. So now it's real, right?"
yeah.
But unfortunately, you got to understand there's a development there where people are very terrified right now,
Yeah.
and that's that compassion.
Look what
we need.
happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
man.
it's
Yeah.
well, I do too, right? Like I feel like it's not that I'm terrified, but it's just like with everything going on, it's very uncertain at least at any time. And we certainty is one of the human drives, right? There's different drives. We like variety, we like certainty, all these kind of things in psychology.
Yeah.
And certainty is one of those things we need. But in this kind of world, the spirit has really been showing that's no longer what's going to happen in the fifth dimension. You need to surrender.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you need to surrender
Right.
instead of certainty,
I had quite a.
and that's very hard for us
I had
to
a moment
do.
of that today.
And trust
yeah.
your
Oh man.
inner guru and your inner manifester and your inner
Yeah.
light, and surrender to it. Don't trust yourself.
Yeah.
Stop trusting everything else. Stop putting people up on a pedestal or holding people down here. Whether whoever it is, gurus, whatever. Instead, go into your heart and trust it and surrender to it. And it terrifies you because you're like, "Fuck, man, you crazy? I'm fucked up, dude. I can't surrender my own heart."
I did a
But you
Reiki
have to.
session about
This is
that
the
today.
problem. Yeah, this is the problem. You got to surrender.
I kind of been embracing this idea of guardian angels and this sort of thing.
Good.
And, I was talking to my buddy Bob there, and we were talking about different concepts of that and whatnot. And one lady, I think he was telling me about saying that most guardian angels are kind of like they consider like male, but like 10% of people would have, according to this one woman, anyways, would have a female one. And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, because I had these kind of visions. Remember we did the writing here, and
Yeah.
Jamie's quite kind of psychic, and he's like, "Oh, I hear this name Beth. I don't know if I told you that story."
We were talking something about
Yeah,
that.
about it anyway. So it's like, I've been kind of channeling this thing, and so today I went into the Reiki and I went, well, I need an intention. So I went, well, I want to be in touch with this guardian angel. I just want to be a little more in tune with her and see what's going on. So I went into it, and we did the Reiki session. It was really cool. I was getting some neat sensations and stuff, and then the inner dialogue started kind of happening. And what kind of came out of it in Nicole's notes was, you're not alone. We're in this together. And it might be a bit scary, might be a bit freaky, it'll be different. But you can't control it. But we're going to do this together, bud. We're a team. And what a team we are.
They're there.
Right? And it was like, it's going to be... It's
every little thing.
Remember those trips? You go on like a trip and you don't know what's going to happen, and it's all new and there's no plan. You know how you love that? It's going to be like that.
Exactly.
And
it was like innocence, right?
Yeah,
Innocence and that
like,
kind of back of childhood, right?
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
You got to get into the innocence of your heart, right?
Yeah.
That's
beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
It was fun.
Thank you for sharing.
But that's the message. And it was weird. I wasn't sure what it was going to be. But
well, angels, angelos, messengers, spiritual guides, spiritual, what I would call devas, what I call demigods, what I call all these kind of things and stuff like that. There's different dimensional realities, right? And we use words to describe them. So whether you say, El Shaddai, somebody else says Shiva, somebody else says Amitabha, right? Somebody else says angel, somebody else says deva, somebody else says bodhisattva. One of the bodhisattvas I work with is what we call Kuan Yin. She's a woman, right?
Okay.
And a bodhisattva is what we call, you're bodhisattvas. We're all bodhisattvas. There's a person on the path, right? Until you become a Tathagata, where you've realized you've become a Buddha. There's many Buddhas. There's thousands of Buddhas, right?
Brian Setzer covered a Steely Dan song called Bodhisattva.
Yeah. But there you go.
I heard that word.
Yeah, bodhisattva. That's it. It's a Buddhist version of angel, but we're all angels in this, right? On that life, and so she's a more senior bodhisattva, right?
Okay.
And she left Earth, and then she came back. And her story is, when she came back, because she did so much work on Earth, and it was pretty good for a while. And she left, and she came back. It was horrible again.
Oh wow!
And she had make a vow that she would never go into despair, no matter how bad it got on Earth. And she went into despair. So the legend is she shattered into 1,000 pieces. Right? It just fell down on the ground, right? Because he despaired.
Yeah.
And so her teacher showed up, and he's like, "Hey, what happened?" Right? She's like, "I had despair." She said, "It's okay. We'll fix you up." Right? So he put her back together. And that's the idea of her 1,000 eyes, so she could see in all the different directions and take care of the people on Earth. They gave her new tools to help out and stuff like that. But she's one that comes through because it's different lessons here, right? Because you got to see the history of it. If we go back to Vishnu and the Anunnaki gods and all this kind of stuff and what happened from the star people in those days. But then you have the treasure Buddha showing up and these different people. And the Chinese believe in this guy, Prince Bushan, who was one of Vishnu's sons who studied who came to Earth. And so there's all this kind of connections.
Wow.
But is it Earth? Is it different realms? Is it different dimensional things? Is
Right.
it different parts of the simulation? You know, we're just in one big advanced Minecraft game that the Divine Grid programmers put together for us, right? Because often what I try to do for my mental, because I'll walk out in the illusion and live in life here, and I see how people are going so crazy, right? And then I remember what Spirit says, like, dude, you got to let it play out for them. This is what they need, right? Just because you can see past it, so what, right? They need this they need to work through these issues. So they're going to have whatever they're working through. Don't judge it. Yeah. Watch people work through their issues, but who are you to stop them, right? Just sit there and serve the moment, give them love, send that energy, let them work through what they're fucking working through. They might have to, the guy might end up doing some pretty shitty things, or people might do that. There might be some skirmishes, there might be wars, there might be things. That's not on you, man. That's them working out their shit, right? And while they're at that level, some of that shit's gonna be worked out like that. Your job is to hold space and hold energy in a different, that's the new consciousness, right? That's the higher level stuff. That's how we transcend things. And don't touch it. Yeah, because it's the highest level of yoga is when we start saying it's aspara yoga. We don't touch anything with our thoughts. As soon as I say, I like this, I've attached it. I don't like this, I've made another attachment. I like that. I don't like this. I like that. I don't like this. I like this. I want that. I don't want this. I want this. I like this. I'm making all these attachments. It's called robunda to the energy field, right? Whereas if I just look at everything, it's not that I don't like it or like it. It's a hand drum. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And really just seeing things as it is and not separate as something else that I like or don't like. Why are you so into the illusion? Right? And you're wasting so much energy liking and disliking stuff when who cares?
Yeah.
Right? Whether you have to like it or not, just it is what it is. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. So, you found it. Awesome, man. I was rocking out there.
Is that the?
Yeah. One of the tips went right off. It was just
Mind if I try it?
Yeah,
Let's check this thing out.
Oh, Nikes.
A lot of fun, man.
Take one. Hang drum solo, take one.
I use it. I see because this fits in that, right?
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, I take it out for meditation when I'm out in the field or wherever else. You just stop it. I can play it anywhere very easily.
Well, and it's neat because it's the scale, so it makes you think. There's your chord, like the root 5. That was the first kind of note, like drums were. And then later they discovered them. There's your major chord. I can pull this up.
Okay, I got it. I love watching musicians' thought process.
It's a fantastic little thing.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it's
that's
a-
fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, thanks.
And it's great for the kids too, right? Because it's actually very easy to get a rhythm on it
Yeah.
and get the kids to play something like that.
Super cool.
Get that.
Yeah. I was trying to do a little theory because it was like, okay, your one chord is 1, 3, 5. And then you go to the 4 chord, and you go to every second one. So you go 4, 6, 8, but 8's 1, right? So here, I'll try. So 1, 3, 5. Oh, sorry. Now you go to your 4 chord, but you're always going up a third. You always skip one. So it's going to be 4, 6, 8. In this case, it's 4, 6, 1. I guess I go to the high one. There. So then we go to the 5. It's going to be 5, 7, 2. So that's kind of like going CFG, right? So I'm going to go to my 4, 4, 6, 1, right? It's hard to do in the fly.
Yeah.
Now it's
It's
gonna
good
be-
though. You're doing great. Yeah. we
5,
watched it,
7,
like
2.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a fun thing to have.
And then you go, okay, I'm going to go 1, 3, 5. Then I'm going to go to the 4 chord, but it's 4, 6, 1, right? So why not keep the 1, instead of going 4, 6, 1, it'll be 1, 4, 6. So I get, and here I go. See? So keep the root up.
Yeah.
And that's what Bach would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that kind of.
Now the 5 was 5, 7, 2. So it's like, well, instead of going all the way up, it was just on 1. Why not go 2, 5, 7, right? Where is it? So instead of, and then
It's very
4,
soothing too.
It is.
Very soothing.
and 5, where are you? 5, 7. So then you get,
How long we be going now, Brian?
yeah, pretty long, eh?
Yeah.
It's like almost 10:10. So
Yeah, man.
I think
That's a trip.
We say bye to everybody
My
first,
theory.
or we just go?
You
Just got Yeah.
got a few comments,
Yeah.
That was a fun conversation. I enjoyed that. That was
Yeah,
cool.
It was good. Right, for the music all the way through.
Yeah.
Right?
Now I got to play this thing more. I've been moving, so all my instruments have been packed away. I haven't touched anything. That's the first I played in a week. Awful.
well, hey man, it was a great show.
Yeah, it was
It
great.
was a lot of
Great.
fun.
I'm going to say a great time because really all we're doing is
Yeah.
just sitting around hanging out and then broadcasting
true.
on the
It's
internet.
true.
for
Yeah, that's
everybody
it.
to
Like
hang
it
out with
wasn't
us.
any planned show. I just showed
Like-
up and like, hey,
Yeah.
let's talk some shit,
Oh,
play
it's
some
awesome.
music.
Good to
talk
see
Yeah,
you,
about
that's
man.
what
stuff.
I like
Always
about
a
what we're
pleasure.
doing here, right? Because
Yeah.
it's more like a hangout.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Than
Just-
anything, right?
Well, I think Tim Pool says about it. Like, he realizes, and I do too. A lot of people don't have conversations with other people, like real. Like,
Yeah.
and it's important to have that, right? Because
Yeah.
you need to be able to throw it out there to go, like, hey, so I got to say a bunch of shit, and I want to know how fucked you guys really think I am.
Well, that's the illusion
Right.
of social media. It's like
Yeah.
a little snippet, and then it's not a conversation.
No,
really.
it's not a
it's
conversation.
not
You need
yeah.
to go deeper, right? Because
Yeah.
because I want to be challenged. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
Nothing worse than drinking your own whiskey, right?
Maybe that's
and-
why we're divided because we just don't converse. The social
well, that's
media
it.
got rid of the conversation.
No, it's short conversations that you can't have
Yeah.
it. We need an in-depth. That's why, as generally with liberalism or anything else, we should be free speech because you should be able to defend what you're able to fucking say, right? And if you
Yeah.
say some nonsense, well, I'm going to challenge it. I'm going to shut you down, right? You go ahead, tell me why something
Yeah.
is racist or anything else, because I'll be able to defend that and I'll be able to fight against it, right?
Yeah.
But
Or
just
learn
not,
from it, right?
Yeah, or learn something, but in any which way or form. So any form of censorship doesn't allow that conversation to have.
Yeah.
And it's important to have these conversations because otherwise, it creates dark pockets of where people think some fucking crazy shit, and
Yeah.
and they get angry, and it gets twisted, and it gets poisonous, right? Because I think some
Yeah.
crazy shit, but I'm still happy, right? So that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm not gonna be, but when you start getting these crazy, and you're like, no, I got to take it in my own hands to strike back or do things,
Yeah.
and stuff,
Yeah.
because they're not allowing to have those conversations, so
10-10.
they think it's so we need those conversations, right? But yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, man, no, it's great.
I wanted to throw the
Fantastic.
10-10 down there so everybody remembers to
Yeah.
remember this because it's 10-10 now.
It
10
is
10 now,
10-10.
yeah.
10-10. And that's a good note to end on.
Well, yeah, that's a new beginnings right there. 10 and a 10.
Exactly. So, right on. Thanks
Peace
for
out.
coming out, everybody.
Peace
Metal
out.
Dad,
See you,
Turbo,
buddy.
Todd, we're all out of here.
All right.
Yeah, no, that's great conversation, guys. Great guitar. Yeah, yeah.